Open audio settings. How about now? Fixed? All right. I unplugged it 3 times. Apparently, the goal is you just gotta unplug it 3 times. I didn't do anything different. All I did was plug it and unplug it. That's crazy. Is it loud? How are the levels? I've got my, mic oh, I guess I can see it. There's the levels. All right. Neat. Officer Real Talk is here. What's up, Officer Real Talk?
What's up?
Hey.
I don't have anything.
Good morning, officer.
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
What are you patrolling today?
just these TikTok streets this time.
well, I'm on my own property. What can I help you with?
Oh man, just a consensual conversation. Just trying to get.
We'll see about that. We'll see.
So I don't know if you have any like particular topic. If you don't,
No.
I was okay. Cool. So conversation I've been having with people. See if you're interested. Some of the immigration reforms that I think the Trump administration wants to do, such as mass deport, birthright citizenship, addressing that. What is your feeling on some of those things?
What do you when you say addressing birthright citizenship? What do you mean? Like doing away with it, or because I don't think Trump has really been super clear on birthright citizenship. I think that Holman for sure has, JD Vance I think has, but Trump's been. I don't know what his real position is on that. So I guess I don't know exactly which position you're talking about.
True. Let's just go with a generalized position about maybe the right wants to do with birthright citizenship.
In ending it, yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think it's crazy. I don't know why. I don't understand the reason for it. If we're being honest, I don't understand what's in it for them.
I guess it depends. So like, okay, so like, if two people are on American soil illegally
Hmm.
and then they have a child, do you think we should just? Do you think the child then deserves citizenship, or should we just deport the whole family?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we kind of like go back and forth with the way that we apply like the rights of a child. Like if it's a right for a child to exist that was conceived in America, we're cool with it. Unless their parents weren't from America, then we're not cool with it. Like what did that child didn't do anything differently, right? I mean, what's different than like I don't know, were you born in the States?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so was I. I don't see what like why do we deserve this because of the location we were born in, but not somebody who's born here whose parents weren't born here or maybe aren't even legally here.
Um, I guess if I'm being honest, I just don't see the point, like, in extending the citizenship. Because like if their parents are illegal and they're going to go home because we're going to deport them, then there's an issue of like, well, does the child stay? Does the child have a right to return? If the child does, what does that look like? I think it's just a more pragmatic view, just to say like the child just goes with them in no citizenship. It's kind of
Well, why
like
not have the parents stay?
well,
Why deport the parents?
it's kind of like if I'm in France and I give birth to a child,
Hmm.
I don't think my child gets like a French citizenship. France is like, cool, now go back home.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what I
Like
don't
you're
know what the
like you're
French
from
laws are
somewhere.
there. If there's anybody from France here, you could tell us. I don't know if they have birthright citizenship there, but we do. That's the thing. Like, and if we went through Congress and we wrote up a bill about birthright citizenship, I think we could find common ground. My biggest concern is that it seems like they want to just like unilaterally end birthright citizenship. Like I heard Homan say something to the effect of, they're like, well, what are you going to do about split families? He's like, easy, we just take their family too. And I thought, I don't know. Like
Yeah,
it feels like you're not following the law there. That doesn't feel very I guess if we want to change the law in Congress first, I'd be probably a little more on board with it because I think that if we negotiated through Congress, there would be some give and take and it would be more sensible. But what I'm concerned about is this: there seems to be this feeling, at least by the appointees that have spoken so far, there seems to be this feeling that they're going to be allowed to run wild and kind of just do whatever they want. And that makes me a little bit nervous, just historically speaking. Like, not having checks and balances it makes me nervous.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to like how we view the people who are writing policy. Like if we see them as like Machiavellian or malicious, or if they are acting that way, then I think that's a problem. Like in general, I think people who espouse like strong bordered or like an anti illegal migrant sentiment are fine. I find people who reject migrants in whole to probably be problematic, but like even then, I have to like dissect like why that is. Like as a like for myself, I'm pretty anti like illegal immigrations.
Why?
Like because I think we have laws, and I think that the only way you uphold government is if the institution can enforce and have those laws respected.
Okay.
And I,
So you see it
yeah,
as like an institute. Yeah, the institution doesn't have any Yeah, I get that. Are you in
yeah,
favor of, like, if we change the laws, would you like it? Would you like to make it easier for
yeah,
people to immigrate?
yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I'm even and there's even like some give and wiggle room. Like I was talking about this last night, where somebody comes here on work visa, it expires, but they're doing like with their handler, for example, and they're trying to get it resolved, but they're currently like in a weird, I'm technically here legally, but I'm working on getting it fixed status. We know they're going to their appointments. We like their person who they're dealing with knows, hey, we know he's illegal. We know that we're working on this. That person to me is fine. They're making an effort to respect and uphold our institution and our systems by, complying and capitulating to those laws. Uh, but and I'm not saying people themselves are Machiavellian here. I'm not trying to assign that. But for people who maybe enter our country and they have a visa and then they let it expire and they make no effort to resolve that issue, I don't know if I have an issue with deporting them, because like this is something that would be consistent across most of the world, anyways. Like,
Yeah, so
I
we'd have
don't.
to write, but we'd
Yeah,
have to write laws somehow that like can delineate there. And I think that that's where like a lot of
yeah,
the argument comes from is that I think one of the big issues that we have is on, let's say, just the left side of the aisle. We may point out the lack of humanity that we view with certain rules, and on your side, the loudest voices will say something like, "Well, we've got to keep the rules," and the truth is like there is actually a middle ground here, but it doesn't seem like any of those people want to find a middle ground. That's why I'm mostly concerned about Holman. Is that I'm just like, I don't think this guy wants to find a middle ground. This guy just seems like he just really, really, really wants to go after immigrants. That's what it feels like.
yeah, and that's sort of my issue with the right as well. Like, I'm more of like a right-leaning socialist, my personal opinion, but like socialism.
wait, what?
Yeah.
Explain that. How does that happen? How are you?
Well,
You gotta explain right-leaning socialist. I love that. People have been laughing at me because I used to say I was like a libertarian socialist. So I'm not saying it's not possible. It sounds crazy.
so there's a really so the way I explain this to like some of my students is there's like a really inappropriate misconception where like communism or socialism are attributed to like left-leaning individuals, but if you sit down and take a critical analysis of like the leaders of these parties or countries at the time, they were incredibly right-leaning. Like for example, Mao Zedong conducted mass deportations. He
Yeah.
outlawed homosexuality. He instituted camps where the schmug addicted were instituted and schmug dealers were executed. Like there were incredibly brutal right leaning what we now consider right leaning policies that were in existence underneath these leaders, and they're no different. Now you can look at the West, and you can find like Charles Fourier and like Jacques Rousseau and like Charles Babeuf and of the French Enlightenment period, and you would examine them and say, well, they espouse like Charles Fourier is regarded as the father of feminism. You would espouse that these socialists were more left leaning socialists.
Do you find it ironic that there's a father of feminism? Just out of that's
That's
pretty.
how he's recorded in
It
history,
shouldn't.
man.
I don't think that should
Yeah, yeah.
exist. I
It
don't
should
know
be a
about that.
matriarch then, maybe, huh?
Yeah, maybe like first man of feminism would have been better than
Yeah, yeah,
father
he's
of
the first.
feminism. Yeah.
Yeah, who's the? Yeah, can we get a matriarch here? Can we get a matriarch? not even women's movements can have women
Yeah,
leaders.
Jesus.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, so when I say I'm more socialist and but in a right leaning sense, I have more like I never really had my beliefs right. Like I don't mind capturing the means of production. I don't mind nationalizing industries. I do feel that we need like socialized medicine. I think like I think a lot of things and believe a lot of things that the socialists would espouse. But I also would lend myself to like I don't know if I mind mass deportations. I don't know if I care about like strong border, like aggressively strong border.
Okay, so
Uh,
like weird. So you're like more fiscally a socialist, but like
socially, yeah, I'm
socially.
pretty
Okay, that's
conservative,
crazy.
yeah.
I never heard. Yeah.
Yeah, except for LGBTQ shit, I don't care where you do what you do what you do. Okay.
Okay. Look, I would see. That's the thing. Like, I would even be more comfortable. Like, I think we could find some middle ground there. I'm just really nervous about what I'm seeing. Not just the rhetoric, but also the people that are being put in place for the border. I mean, it makes me it like Holman says a lot of things that you could
It's xenophobic. It comes off as xenophobic.
xenophobic. It also comes off as power hungry. It comes
Right.
off as dehumanizing. I'm just like maybe that's his rhetoric. I guess that's the way out of it. But to me, we spent a lot of time, and we've spent some time like the last week trying to figure out like how do we message differently because just calling Donald Trump a fascist didn't work. Um, but this is one of those situations where like I'm stuck. I'm like, all right, I don't want to just like throw around terminology like fascism or
No,
concentration camps. But I'm
you're
also watching a guy on national TV just be like, I don't fucking care. I'm going anywhere. And if anybody gets in our way, we're gonna run them over, and we're gonna go and we're gonna find every single immigrant. It's like, man, that sounds
you're
that sounds similar.
I always turn the comments off, but I'm sure your comments are going crazy right now.
I don't read them. Not when I'm
Yeah,
talking. I get too distracted.
I literally fight on TikTok with the HUD off. I play on hardcore mode only. Okay, I don't need I don't need comments. So the way that I look at this, and I don't know how familiar you are with like World War II history. America's in a very similar position that World War II Germany was in prior to like the rock stage fires. So like when I say that, when you look at like World War One, end of World War One, you see a rising mustache man speaking in Austria about the falls of Germany, like economically, socially, everything is delinquent. Everybody is a degenerate. The system is broken. Both parties are ruining everything. We can't agree. We can't live together. Like a lot of those very pervasive narratives were taking hold. And if you examine his speeches, they're actually not. I hate to say this out loud, and this is Discord me coming out. I usually talk in Discord. They're not anti-Semitic, not at first. A lot of them are
No, maybe not
extremely
overtly.
right, but a lot of them are
Right.
well. They're looking for a bad guy. They are,
Right.
and
And
be
he might have,
careful.
and let's be fair. Like I agree. I think that that's kind of this is one of the fears is that at the beginning they're not overt, and so sometimes it's like, okay,
Right,
this is just somebody looking for the bad guy, and then it turns out that the bad guy was the person they were talking about all along. But they
right.
had to build like they had to
You,
build that energy and that
you can't just come out and
trust.
say it. You can't just come out and say it because
Yeah,
people
yeah,
get uncomfortable with that. Yeah. You
yeah.
can't come out and say it. So I think America's in a similar position because I actually don't think Americans care if we have a dictator or fascism. I think that people typically will trade a hefty amount of security and rights. I'm sorry, a hefty amount of rights for security. And so when I say that, I'm trying to say that we have a country that is in a similar like pigeonhole
Yeah.
feeling about like our social delinquencies and like the economy and the all parties are broken, nothing can be fixed, is it unreformable? And then this is how you get the rise of strong men, quote
It's
unquote, that
just
strong man government.
it's just
So
crazy because it
I don't
feels
think MAGA
so
supporters care. They don't care.
it feels so manufactured to me.
It
Like
is.
they say like that the country is going to hell, like the crime is out of control, you can't go into like blue city. Crime is at like all-time lows. Crime has been precipitously declining for 20 years. They say we can't handle like this migrant invasion, largely like whatever they call it, an invasion, I call it in silence, like largely we're handling that. It hasn't crippled us. So that's what I think is the scariest part is I probably agree with you that there's a certain amount of people that if it was transparently obvious that we were under attack, I think And we saw this with 9/11, that a lot of Americans will come together and be like, look, yeah, we gotta we gotta fight. Now we did it wrong, but we did come together after 9/11. Like 90% of us were kind of on the same page. So I agree with that, but I don't think this is that instance. I think that's why we're so divided, because I don't see it, man. I don't see the overwhelming crime. I don't see the massive problems at the border. I don't see this problem attacking women's sports, whatever it might be. All these things, I don't get it. I don't see how they're like a huge problem or something that should divide us or something that should push us towards a strong man. It feels like we got played a little bit on, like, do we need a strong man?
Sorry if it gets a
You're
little
good.
loud. I'm about to I'm letting three 90-pound dogs outside. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Come on, get out there, buddy. Let's go. Lollygagging. Yeah, I think some of it is manufactured, and I think it's manufactured that way on purpose. And some of the issue with that is, again, you're gonna have to. It makes it hard to discern between like honest actors, people who say that they actually want to secure the border and they actually think there's an issue, and then people who are looking for a fall man to like garner power. And that's where I think it's where we are right now in America, which is a lot of Americans do say things like, "I can't afford an emergency. I can't, I can't do this. My values aren't represented. No one cares what I think." And the issue with that is that whenever you have a man, right now it's Trump, or it could be somebody after him, Vivek, whoever that person is. When that person comes along and says, "You're right. They don't care what you think. You're right. They don't like you. And I do. I love you. I'll take care of you." Like, this is a lot of the language I see from Trump. And I didn't vote for Trump, by the way, but just examining like who he is as a leader. I see a lot of, like, I would say he talks in short 6th grade bursts that are emotional, because that's what people want. Like, where I think, okay, let's see if you agree with this for a second. Maybe I can sum it up this way. Americans don't want policy. Americans want concepts to make them feel good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I think that people want to. I think it's more complex than that. I think people want messaging that's digestible, and mirrors what they're feeling. The problem is you can manufacture what people feel now, and this is where I'm nervous about, again, this country. And maybe you have some ideas. Like, there's a certain amount of people, there's a certain amount of MAGA voters, or Trump voters, let's just say Trump voters, that showed up, that don't normally show up to elections at all. We've seen where the gains were made. The gains were made in men, younger men, black men, Latino men. And white women stayed roughly the same. I'm just judging. I haven't looked at all exit polls, but just based on like swing state voter polls. And I just wonder, like, it's fine for us to admit the messaging was wrong, but if some of this stuff starts coming together the way that we were afraid, do you think that there is a way to turn that once in a generation voter that came out, or to white men, Latino men, black men, young men? Do you think that there is some sort of messaging where if we start seeing the elements of fascism or heavy like authoritarian control, is there messaging that we can send back that way? Because that's what I don't get. It's like every one of them's like, lions, not sheep, but then they're like, what we need is the strongest possible leader. And so I'm trying to figure out how to message to those same people. YMCA. Someone said play YMCA. Maybe that's what we do. Did we lose him? there
Oh,
you go.
sorry.
Oh,
Give
you're
me just
back.
one moment. I mean, as far as messaging goes, I don't know. I think it depends on how you look at this. I think the issue with democracy is it can vote itself into a dictatorship, and that seems to be where we're at. Like, you let people elect leaders that are dangerous, but you can't stop those leaders from being dangerous once they're in. So I think as far as messaging goes, the one thing I try to do for people is I try to help them understand where their rights are, why they exist, and historically what happens when you retrograde those rights, or when you retrograde the rights of others. So, for example, I always lead people to a really good World War II poem called Once They Came. And if you might read that poem, it's a chronological timeline of the destruction of many groups
Yeah.
before the final annihilation of another one, or attempted annihilation of another one. And the issues presented by a fascist state.
Are you talking about First They Came?
Or First They Came, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
sorry.
That's what I thought
No,
you were,
First They
but
Came.
then I was like,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
my
So,
bad.
okay.
My bad, yeah. So First They Came.
It's
And
Nemola. I think Nemo. Is that how you say it?
yeah. And it's a really good one.
Do you want me to just
But
read?
yeah,
I'll read it if you want. So
yeah,
the
go ahead.
audience
Go
hears.
ahead. I'm
First
sure
they
they're
came for the
curious.
First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. I think it's important to realize that, like, as a country, as a group of people, we coalition build together. We represent each other with rights, and we have to safeguard each other's rights. Because once you start conceding the ground that it's okay to violate a group because you don't like them, or you don't like how they act, or what they think, or how they voted, then no one can save you whenever you're the one who's now unpopular, even within your own group, and now they're coming for you. And I just try to explain to people that we have to be accountable to each other as citizens. So when we see a dangerous leader coming to power, or a leader who we think can retrograde our rights, or is willing to suspend those rights on day one, or is willing to discuss you know, democratic republic talking points, we have to, no matter how much you might like that person, stop that person from entering our government. Because once that person enters the government, it is now okay, or seen as okay, for these talking points to enter our government. And again, I'm going to a point I made earlier. The only way institutions exist is if you have the integrity to uphold them. Once that leaves the institutions, they're meaningless and they're degradable. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with all that. I do have people waiting, but come back again. I want to keep talking to you.
Absolutely, brother.
I
You have a
appreciate it.
wonderful day, by
You
the way.
too. See ya. Keegan,
How you doing, man?
what's up, man? Let me check actually messages real quick. Sorry, I should have done that before I. Actually, go ahead. I'll do it on the break.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember me. But we've spoken a couple times before.
I like speaking. I like that.
Like that. Yeah, I do. I just woke up, so bear with me. Anyways, I work for ExxonMobil. I work in Texas, and
Okay, I remember you now. Yeah.
I voted for this election of for my job. You know, this was one of my first elections that I voted in. When it comes to primary elections, it kind of gives you a reference of how old I am. I'm in the statistic of young men.
Oh, it's your first time able to vote, not just your first time
not
voting.
able to vote, but it's the first time I voted.
Okay.
So, I'm in the statistics of young men that came out and voted. And let me explain to you what I expect now that I voted. And this will 100% change my vote because, surprisingly or not, I went to a Kamala Harris rally in Houston, Texas, and I also went to a Trump rally.
You just thought Beyonce was going to be there. Be honest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought she was gonna sing, and I couldn't see anything. I just heard her voice because that place was crowded,
Yeah.
and it almost. And my experience at the rally was, one, it was hot because it's Houston, and two, there was a lot of, I guess you could say, I felt like a pressure of division in the air. Like people were worried, people were concerned about the country, and there was a lot of, I mean, I can go on, but we've seen it on the news. We know exactly what is happening, and that it almost kind of left me with like a sad feeling. But whenever I went to a Trump rally, it was very upbeat. It was very positive. It was like everybody was just, it almost reminded me of like a united party, and that has nothing to do with politics, but it just kind of shows you the emotions of which candidate ran off of what. So
Is it possible? Because I got to tell you, I had the exact opposite experience, and I also watched.
and that
tons
may
of
be
rallies.
because I have a bias view.
That's what I'm wondering, because I do think that if you went to a Harris rally. There were moments that were made for me that I would feel because I agree with what she said. So like I noticed far more of like to me, and mine was one of the first ones. It was in Arizona. It felt unified. But it also could have been because we had Joe Biden. We didn't have rallies. Joe Biden's boring. It felt unified, but certainly there was some talk about like we can't let Trump in the White House. This what'll happen if Trump gets back in the White House. But like that's, I mean, I've watched hundreds of Trump rallies. There's not a single one where he isn't saying the
Yeah.
exact same type of stuff,
So
right?
with the Trump rally, I would have to say during the Kamala Harris rally, I did stay up and listen to mainly everything. For the Trump rally, I actually left early because it got a little tiring. I mean,
So you might have missed that part.
it was the beginning part when he first came out and everything. That was pretty cool. But then he just started talking, and no offense.
Appreciate
I got
the
bored.
honesty. Yeah, look,
Really
it
got
was
bored.
because it was the same thing over and over. So maybe that's why it didn't. Maybe that's why people didn't notice it. Is on our side, we're like, holy shit, why are you guys talking about us being negative? If at the very least we're both being negative here. But that
Have you
makes
ever been
sense.
to a
Maybe
Trump rally
because the
before?
message had been heard so many times that's not the part that you guys cared about.
Have you ever been to a Trump rally before?
A couple of them, yeah.
Can we talk about how the people dress up at those rallies?
We can, yeah. It
'Cause,
feels
hold
like
on.
it. To be honest, it feels very similar to going to like
A football game.
either a football game or like the state fair.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Somebody had a pig in a harness.
Yeah, it's
like
great. Yeah,
trying to
it's-
take their pig in. So, anyways, beyond that point, the rallies, I like the music at Kamala Harris's rally. I didn't care too much about her talking about. I didn't care too much
Ave
about.
Maria for 40 minutes.
I didn't care too much about her talking about teachers, but I did care about that topic, and I also want to talk about like what we hold now that I voted for that candidate. I hold that candidate to a high authority. I voted. This is my first time voting in a primary
You
election.
mean like
I
a
felt-
high standard?
yeah, a high
Okay.
standard.
Yeah.
He's a higher authority, so I hold him to a higher standard. So I felt good about voting this first time, even though it was kind of a hard choice to make because I hear all these things about it. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to vote and I'm going to see what happens. Because it's kind of like one of those things where you just kind of got to like throw your dice out and hope you hit double sixes. But
So you're open to this idea that like maybe you're right, maybe it's better than you thought, but also open to the idea that maybe you were wrong.
and I will be 100% honest. If he comes in and he does not if he comes in and things start going to absolute down the hole and everything just starts screwing up and people's rights are getting taken away, I will not vote for somebody who supports him.
Can I tell you a couple things that concerned me this morning? Just like as I was, do you know who Tom Homan is?
No.
Okay, so he's gonna be he's Trump's appointee for I think DHS, Department of Homeland Security. So he's gonna be the one in charge of like immigration, and he's been. People have known him for a while. Like the Republicans have put him up in Senate hearings in the last couple of years. He was I think he was at ICE when Trump was president. But one of the things that's concerning to me, just as I look at like how they're messaging, is he's coming out and he's saying word for word talking about what they talked about in Project 2025. He was an advocate of Project 2025 anyways. And I'm fair enough. Trump says he's not going to do the Project 2025 stuff. A lot of people took him at his word, and now we've got to see if he's going to do it. But my concern is that it kind of looks like, especially with immigration, he's doing that. And then also with the Senate, like the Senate is, if you go on Twitter and you look up John Toon or Rick Scott or who's the other guy? It's another John Cornyn. You'll see that Republicans are saying we want Rick Scott, especially the MAGA ones, and they're giving out this scorecard. It's a conservative scorecard, but what it actually is Heritage's scorecard for how many times they voted for stuff that Heritage wanted. And Cornyn and Toon, who the MAGA folks are really not cheering for, their scorecard's like 60%. So 60% of the time they voted for exactly what Heritage wanted. Rick Scott voted for Heritage 91% of the time. And this seems to be the direction that that this administration is pushing. Like they said no to Project 2025, and maybe they didn't know if we want to give them the ultimate benefit of the doubt. But what I'm wondering is as this stuff rolls out, are you guys willing to push back against your candidate at the same time? Be like, hey, we stood up for you guys. We told them you weren't doing Project 2025, but now it kind of looks like some of it, not all. I think the fact that he didn't choose a heritage lackey necessarily for his chief of staff, and I don't think he'll choose all heritage lackeys. But sometimes it makes me nervous.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The whole thing about rounding up the immigrants and deporting them, I don't agree with, actually. And this is the reason why. We, at my company, we have roughly 70% of our workers are immigrants. And I don't like to call them illegal because I feel like illegal immigrants are somebody who does not contribute to society that comes to a country to reach opportunities.
70% of the people at your company
That
are not
that I work
authorized
with.
to work in this country?
No, that I work with. Now, no, they still pay taxes, but
Okay,
they're
so
not
they have work
like,
visas.
they
They're
don't,
not citizens.
yeah,
Okay,
they're not
gotcha.
citizens.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so
So
sorry,
definitely not illegal then. Yeah, legal but not citizens.
yeah,
Okay.
they're not illegal, and I don't like the word illegal for anybody who's undocumented and not working because it almost feels like you're trying to criminalize somebody who's just trying to purely live a better life, and I'm okay with those types of people coming over. That's what built America is immigration. That it's amazing how America's been built. But when we talk about when he talks about deporting people like that, I don't agree with it. But I do agree that we do need to get some type of hold on what is going on because I don't know much about the border. I've never been to the border. The closest I've been to the border is 700 miles, and that's
not very close. Yeah.
so. When I talk to some of these guys who have been on the buses who go to Mexico and come back, I ask them, is the border a big issue? And they go, yes and no. Yes, because the people who should not be coming over are coming over. And then he's like, but no, because the people who generally want to come over and don't want to get deported, it takes a very long time for them to come over. It takes up to 4 to 7 years, he said.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's sad. And I don't think that the people who are trying to follow the rules should have the butt end of these policies. And I asked him, like, what would be the best thing to do? And he said, first off, understanding how many people are in the country. And he said, second off, it would be making sure that everybody follows the same rules, keeping keeping the rules for everybody, making sure nobody's bending the rules and everything like that. And then I asked him about, well, are these bad people trafficking in drugs? And he goes, no, they're not trafficking in drugs. They're purely coming over here to start the process. He's like, that's how they survive. He's like, the people who are trafficking the drugs are actually American citizens.
Yeah, overwhelmingly.
Most of them aren't even Mexican. They're white because the reason is because if you're Mexican and you're trying to cross the border, he's like, we will get harassed 10 times as much versus if somebody who's white, they'll just let them through.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I do live in a border state. So, yeah, it's like we have checkpoints within 100 miles of the border. And I fly through those every time. They're like, "Hey, how are you? All right, have a good day." But if you are brown, you're going to be asked quite a few more questions for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think that's fair, And I really hope that when Trump does these border bills or whatever he does with the border, I hope he makes the rules for everybody, not just people who are crossing who are from that country. I really hope that people who are going out of America into Mexico are checked just as much as people coming in from Mexico and into America. But also I learned something very important. And this was like a key opening to me. And once I learned this, I was like, wow, I didn't know that was real. But Mexico actually has stronger deportation. Like they deport more people than America does. Yeah. And I did not know that. That's crazy. That is a crazy thought to think about, is the country that has people that are coming in from the border still deport more people than the country that they're coming into.
Yeah. We'll come back. I got to get to the next person. Let's keep talking, man. I appreciate your perspective on that.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Be well. All right. Let me check messages. Bree. Oh, good. Bree says, I know the guest is playing games, but you're not. You want to come treat me like a joystick? Yeah, later. I wasn't ready for that. Swish says, plug it and unplug it. Title of your sex tape. I think my title of mine would be plug it in and leave it there for just a few. Let me update this. How are you guys, by the way? This is my only day this week. I know some people said they were surprised that I was here today. We'll see what the plan is on Mondays going forward. But this is the only day I'm here this week, and then I'm gone for like eight days, I think. So, Jen, go ahead, hop up real quick, Jen. And Jammin, I'll grab you just a sec. Give me 1 sec. Hey, Jen.
Good morning, Sunshine.
Good morning.
Just want to remind everybody, if we got the gift goal, if you guys want to help achieve that would be awesome. Only request if you're opposition. If you're not opposition, I'm going to kick you out. I've said that to a bunch of people in the comments, so don't request if you agree. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We've got some merch, link in the bio, and that's it.
Oh, I was muted. All right, thanks, Jen.
Later.
See ya. Jammin, what's up? Maybe. Oh, there we go.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Oh, same old shit. Just cruising down I-10, you know, watching out for these pesky illegal immigrants.
Yeah, right there.
I'm just trying to not get deported, you know, because according to the left, just because I voted for Trump, I'm gonna get what I voted for, and Trump is gonna deport me.
I don't know. I don't know what your immigration status is. What is it?
I was born in the United States, in Texas, as a matter of fact, not too far from the southern border, but
were your parents
also
citizens?
a veteran. Oh yeah.
Oh,
my
yeah,
family, my family goes back. My family goes back. Coming here, my grandfather came here in 1608, 1612 time period, but my grandmother's native. So,
so nobody's
it's just I think
that's not true then. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that you're going to be deported.
Yeah. There's a bunch of people on the left, like a bunch of your counterparts, that create content. On my main account, I just showed like just 2-3 people their thoughts in regards to what Latinos for Trump, Latino voters should be getting, because since they voted for Trump, they might as well just get deported with their illegal family members and so on and so forth.
This is having quite an effect on you.
No. This is exactly why the Democrat Party lost, because you guys are so disconnected.
From what?
And I'm not from reality. Like, here's the thing, RTP. I've been trying to tell Democrats, those that are not Democrats, independents, why you were losing support in the Latino community and in the Black community. I tried to tell you guys. Because at the end of the day, I'm serving my country right now.
That's what I'm trying to ask right
Go ahead.
now. Jim, that's what I'm trying to ask you right now. We lost you. Can't hear you.
Oh, no, I'm muted. It's because I'm just taking a little break. I'm on my way to Bakersfield, California from West Texas, so just kind of stretching my legs.
Sure.
But yeah, listen, here was the thing, RTP. Every day we got on these lives and stuff, and we try to communicate with certain people. And I have family that's still Democrat. I used to be a Democrat. But just like I was voicing, like, why you guys are so disconnected from the Latino community and the Black male vote that voted for Trump, your people in the chat tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. When, I'll be honest with you, RTP, I've seen your lives. We've spoken before in the past. Here's the problem. You guys on the left are not receiving the messages that I get. As a former Democrat, there's a reason why they send me the messages about them leaving the Democrat Party,
So
and not you guys.
What are those messages?
Oh, they have a lot in common. They're not heard. The same things that the Democrat Party
What are they not
is
being heard about? Like, what do they want to be heard about?
Well, the same thing the Democrat Party used to promise back in the day in regards to fixing DACA, uh, advocating against a two-tier justice system, fixing immigration, right? Our southern border. Just to give you guys a heads up, RTP, I don't have no qualms or quarrels with
No, I'm
any
just
Democrats, man.
listen,
You believe
brother,
what you believe, right? Here-
Jamin. I would like to have a conversation about substance, and it seems like every time I ask a question, like you keep going back to, I get it, dude. I've seen your lives too. It's a bunch of people shouting at each other. I get it. I understand that you want to, but I'm actually
yeah, you've
trying.
been on there.
But I'm
You've
actually
been on there shouting and over talking people.
But
I'm
I
just actually giving you a
I'm
little bit of
trying
your
to-
own medicine.
I'm not disrespecting you, Jamin. I'm not even that wasn't even disrespectful, dude. You know how these lives go. People yell at each other. People get escalated. It happens. I'm just saying. I don't care about that. I'm trying to figure out the reasons for the messaging. Like I want to know. I want to know. Like you mentioned DACA, and you said that there were some of your friends were like, yeah, but Democrats were promising like help for DACA. And so in my head, I'm like, all right, I get it. I understand somebody being upset that Democrats didn't push for DACA recipients. I agree with that. I think that I think that the Latino community should feel like the DNC didn't do enough to help them, and that they ignored them, and that they put them on the back burner. I understand all of that. The part that where I'm finding the disconnect is then how does somebody go, all right, since they're not helping me with DACA, I'm going to vote for somebody who wants to end all protections for DACA.
Well, actually, whenever Trump was trying to get that money for the southern border, right? Like these people that have been in this DACA situation for a while, they protested against Obama. They called him out at one of his little, get-togethers in 2013. They did the same thing to Nancy Pelosi in 2017. But here's part of the problem, right? Like in the Latino community, like you guys really don't know what our community and culture is all about. Like I cannot find you not one Latino male that is openly okay with saying, I hope my daughter gets an AB. That goes against our
I don't
traditional
know a single
values.
human being who feels that way. I've never met a human in my life who says, I hope my daughter has an AB.
Yeah, so the reason I said that, though, respectfully, RTP, is because the messages I get is like, I don't stand with that. It's
With
not in
what?
our culture to stand with so openly speaking about AB and advocating for it. That goes against our culture.
Can I ask you a
Like,
question? Who have
yeah.
you ever heard advocate for people to get abortions?
I'm just telling you what I was told.
I know, and I'm just asking you a question. Have you ever heard? If you haven't heard that, fine, maybe they did, but I've never heard anybody ever advocate for abortions, ever.
Well, it definitely wasn't the Republican Party that was advocating for it.
No, I know, but I've never
That's
heard
why they feel
anybody
the
do
way
it.
they did. Well, in regards to the women's reproductive rights and the protections and so on and so forth, interpreting that's why a lot of Latinos felt the way they did. It's
so
because
that's why I
they
think-
felt like that wasn't. Go ahead.
No. Well, that's why I think it gets back to messaging, which is why I'm asking the question, because I do agree that Republicans. I'm not saying that. I believe your friends said all this stuff. I believe it probably pushed a lot of voters, and you'll have a better understanding for me. I get like that's where I'm trying to figure out how the messaging got lost. Is that literally nobody on either side is out there like let's have abortions, let's have lots of abortions. No, nobody is. But I think that on the right, they did a good job of framing that as our position. And that makes sense then that somebody who would be against it personally would be like, hey, maybe I want some protections, but I don't want this just willy-nilly, everybody get ABs for the fun of it. I see what you're saying. But I do think that in and of itself, like, probably isn't true. Like, I don't think anybody on our side was going to say, let's have abortions.
Like at the DNC's a perfect example, right? Like you guys had that little bus out there, like that didn't look good.
The what?
It didn't look good the DNC at the DNC in Chicago. It is no secret that they had a whole bus out there doing such things.
You mean the Planned Parenthood bus?
Yes.
They weren't doing abortions, right?
Actually, there was some individuals that came out and said that they got one. They went in with their friends who also got one, and vasectomy's done. I mean, regardless, at the end of the day, it still wasn't a good look.
Did you ever check those stories?
RTP, look, this is part of the problem. I'm trying to tell you.
I'm not asking you to tell me. I'm here for a conversation, right? I understand you wanted.
That entails me telling you. A conversation entails me telling you what I was told.
Jammin, I'm trying to figure this shit out. So I need to know what you did too. I need to know how this stuff happened. So I'm just wondering, because I know that those stories aren't true. I covered it on my show. I just wonder, like, is that the case, that people just hear stories and they don't go check them? So we need to do a better job combating that misinformation in a different way? Because those are just not true. Those stories are just not true.
Okay. Yeah. Y'all need a better way of attacking it to shut it down, to shut down the misinformation. Most definitely.
How do you think we would do that? Because almost all those claims were just people tweeting on Twitter that they had done, like that. They're like, oh, I went to the DNC bus and I got an AB. How do we combat that?
I don't know. Maybe the way you guys, not you, but maybe the way certain followers of certain content creators like to go report videos from people on the right. Maybe that should also happen. Oh, so you don't want to correct the information?
No, stay with me, brother. Stay with me. It has nothing to do with that. With all due respect.
No. I am. You just don't like that. I am.
Please, Jammin, stay here.
No, I'm not at all.
Yeah, you do.
No, I'm not running from shit. You just don't like my answer. Because if at the end of the day, when those stories stay up, those stories stay up, I'll continue speaking.
Jammin, this isn't your. I'm just trying to have a discussion with you. So when I stop you,
this is why y'all lost. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe. But what I'm not gonna. But you're wrong. Like you're sharing things that are wrong. So I'm trying to figure out man to man. And I believe you. I believe you're a person who takes their integrity seriously. Am I right about that?
Oh no, I fuck around with my integrity. What the fuck kind of question is that?
It was a question. Do you not want to answer it?
Yeah, my integrity hasn't been questioned. The people who follow me, no, I am. I don't lie. I don't need to lie.
I'm asking a question. Don't move the goalposts. You still haven't answered the question. But either way, I'm just wondering if you're a person who takes their integrity seriously. Why doesn't it, when I brought up that these stories are all fake, you wanted to talk about people commenting on your videos. This is why we can't come together, Jammin, because you feel attacked by a fact check. And I've got to figure out a way to message to people like you so that you guys don't feel attacked.
I'm telling you what they said.
When we fact check something.
And you're asking how to combat it, and I'm telling you how to combat it. The same way certain individuals report conservative videos, you can go report that individual's video that happens to be from the left. Go ahead and report their video for misinformation, even though they said that they were there.
These weren't videos,
yeah,
bud.
Okay. Regardless, the way our videos can come down because of misinformation, the way our videos come down because of misinformation, the same thing can happen to those.
Why are you talking about videos right now, Jammin? With all due respect, I'm just asking you.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard for you to. I know it's hard for you to keep up.
Jammin,
I know it's hard for you to keep up, but I'm telling you why.
Brother, please, for the love of God, do your best to please answer the question. If you're talking about us, like. You want to lob all sorts of accusations. I'm just asking you, as somebody who takes their integrity seriously, how could we better message to you so that you don't fall for fake stories like we're getting abortions at the DNC?
So, like I said, no, I don't want to thank you. Like I said, these are messages that I received from individuals that left the Democrat Party. My integrity isn't in question here.
Not questioning
At the end of the day,
integrity.
RTP, thank you. I was almost done. You're amazing. Well, then why would you ask the question? You seem like a person who's integrity, and you're trying to shift the goalposts. At the end of the day, I'm just sharing with you, RTP, and your following, why y'all lost.
Listen,
because of videos like that. Also, immigration, right? They saw that you had legal immigrants come here. You had legal immigrants. You had legal immigrants come here.
All right, Jammin, don't make me mute you again.
Go ahead.
Please don't.
Go ahead, carry on, bro.
I'm just asking you to stay on subject for like 12 seconds. I don't think it's that much to ask. Please, here's the question once more. Please answer the question. Jammin, you repeated stories that aren't true. What could we do to help folks like yourself not fall for fake stories so that we can unify? Because I don't know how we unify if every time we have a discussion, we spend the whole time talking about stories that aren't even true. How do we
So tell me
message
what
to people
stories
who
did I
don't wanna hear
repeat that weren't true?
What's that?
So what stories did I say that weren't true?
That people
Since
were
you made the
having-
claim.
that people were having ABs outside the DNC.
Thank you. All I was telling you is that's what they told me. The people that feel in the Latino community that they do not support AB because it's not part of our culture, that's what they told me. I was literally telling you
I
what
know.
they told me. I didn't make up anything.
I know.
I'm just sharing with you what was
I've
shared with
never
me.
accused you of
But you're
made up-
trying to make a claim.
No,
you're
I'm
trying to
not,
make a
Jammin.
you're trying to make a claim
you're
that I'm the
sensitive,
one
dude.
spreading misinformation.
you're just
No,
sen-
no, no,
you're
no.
sen- no, I'm
no,
not making
you
that
you have
claim.
a you have
I'm
a
not.
comprehending
Brother,
problem.
I'm not making that claim. Nobody's made that claim at any point.
You
I'm
just
asking you to
said,
be
how
quiet,
can you
please. Be
combat
quiet,
me
please. Be
and my
quiet, please.
my
Let me
message?
get my sentence out. I listened to what you had to say. I'm asking you about your friends, and you just repeated misinformation that your friends told. How could we message your friends so that they don't fall for fake stories? That's all I'm asking. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. You came up here, you said, let me tell you why. So I'm asking you now, how do we help your friends not fall for misinformation?
Like I said, you said that those videos that my so-called friends, even though I didn't say they were my friends, there were people that sent me messages. I don't know these people from across the country, all over across the country, okay? I don't know them. They just shared with me why I'm a former Democrat and why they're a former Democrat. Part of that was them. They're the ones that saw those videos. They're the ones that saw all that information, and they don't stand with the AB so openly in the Latino community. We don't. So with that being said, it was them that left.
Can you answer the question
Don't get mad at me about combating something when you
I'm
guys
asking you
combat
a question.
conservatives.
I'm just asking a
And
question.
and every
You're not
time I'm answering it,
With all due
you
respect,
turn around and
Jammin,
try to say that
with
I'm
all
doing
due
something
respect,
else.
Jammin, you just repeated something you've already said 10 times. If you don't know the answer, if you say, I don't know how to do that, just
If
say, I
you
don't
don't
know.
like my answer, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't like
Jammin,
my answer,
okay,
I don't know what to
Jammin,
tell you. Are
Jammin,
former
those
Democrats
people-
sending you messages?
Those people that sent you messages, why do you think they fell for a fake story?
You need to ask them.
Okay, I'm asking, I don't know
You
them.
need to
I'm-
ask them.
Okay, so you don't know.
I don't know. I'm
Okay,
only
just
sharing with
say
you what they shared
That's
with
what
me.
we've been talking about, Jammin. You keep thinking I'm coming after you. You came up saying I'm here to give advice, so I'm asking you questions. It
Yeah,
doesn't-
and I answered the question. You just didn't like my answer.
yeah, but I'm just wondering, advice-wise, what would you do? What would you do if those same people were sending you fake stories all the time, but you knew that the answer, you knew the answer? What would you do?
I would report their videos like my videos were
Wait,
reported
I
for
thought they sent you
misinformation.
messages.
I mean, that's definitely.
The videos that they are talking about, I understand it's hard to comprehend. I
Yeah.
believe me. I get it.
Yeah.
Because you're only listening to what you want to hear, RTP,
No,
and this
I'm
is part of the
asking you
problem.
about the
This is why
messages.
y'all lost so big. This is why y'all lost so big because of the disconnect.
I don't think
literally
you had a
told
lot
you
to do
that
with that,
they feel what they felt because of the videos they saw. You want to know how to combat it?
Yeah.
Go take those videos down that they saw because they're all over this internet, especially 2 months ago
So
during the
censorship.
debate or during let it be what it be. At
Is
the
that
end
what
of the
you're
day,
saying, though, that
conservatives
that's our
get
only
their
option?
videos taken down.
No, but maybe you have.
Conservatives get their videos taken down.
Listen, maybe you have
For less.
Maybe you have some common ground there with some other people, because there are a lot of people in this country who think the only answer. I don't agree with them, but there are a lot of people who think that censorship is the only way to combat misinformation. It sounds like you're on that same side. That the only way we can do it is by censorship.
No, respectfully, I don't like censorship of any kind. Actually, I like when misinformation is up daily. That way I can go post it over on my Instagram, and my followers over on Instagram and X laugh at the TDSness. That's just the way the
don't
Latino
care.
community
I don't
is. We
care,
don't turn
Jammin.
around and
I
report.
don't care.
But-
I'm going to mute you. I don't care about any of that. Every time I ask you a question, you just go on like a rant. I mean, it's fine. You don't know how to fix. You don't know how to find misinformation on your side, and I think that that's going to be our job to fix because I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I
Jammin.
correct
That's the middle of my
misinformation on my
sentence, Jammin. That's
side.
the middle of my sentence. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know. I don't really know.
Been
What
doing
we,
that to
I
me
don't
all
really
day.
know. I don't. Can you be an adult for 2 seconds, Jammin? Can you just be an adult? With all
Carry on.
due respect, Jammin, I don't think you had anything to do with this election, and I don't think you know why people voted a certain way. But I am trying to find some common ground here with you. I think you know what people who 5 days after the election are still wearing political apparel think. I do think you know what MAGA thinks, but MAGA was already there, Jammin. You were Trump before that. So I don't think you're the person I'm messaging to. But what I would like in the future, and anybody else who's in the chat, I would like to have a conversation with somebody who's willing to answer a question and not take everything as a threat. I legitimately want to know how we combat misinformation, how we have a more informed electorate. If we want to point to things that happen on both sides that were lies, I'm fine with that. But I just want to have a discussion on how to fix it. I'm not interested in like your beef with people on the left and videos. I just want to know what your solutions might be.
Well, here would probably be something moving forward. Not everybody in MAGA are racist, misogynist, xenophobes, homophobes, all the labels and terms and hateful rhetoric that you guys said I am. Not you, but you're following literally in this very live, and your chat has literally been saying that. Okay, at the end of the day, if you want to find a solution and moving forward to where we can communicate as regular, normal human beings, a good way to combat it is stop it. But see, this is part of the problem, RTP.
And what, real quick,
Because I can
hold on,
stop
hold
that.
on. Hold on. And what can you do on your end to be better?
RTP, I actually do it on my end.
just
That's why
wondering
my
what you can do on
moderators,
your end to
my
be better.
moderators actually mute and kick out
So you did it
certain
perfect.
individuals who are being hateful. My
I'm not
moderators
asking for what
mute
you've
and
done
kick
well.
out the
No, with all due respect, I am not asking for
You
what
asked,
you've done well.
what do
I'm
I do?
asking you what you can do better. You personally, what can you do better? Let's find. I agreed with you. I just let you tell me. We shouldn't be quick, and I've discussed this on my show. We should be far less quick to call somebody a bigot, to call somebody a fascist, to call somebody a racist, to call somebody a homophobe, to call somebody xenophobic. Those words should be, we should be more careful with those words and use them more when they're appropriate and not so loosely. I agree with you. I've spent days owning my shit. I'm just asking you, Jammin, what can you do to branch it? Like, how can you and I coexist? Because it doesn't work if I just say, hey, what can we do? And all you're willing to do is just tell us what we did wrong. And you're not willing to say like, hey, maybe we'll fact check a little more. Maybe we won't take everything personally when it's a fact check. Because I saw when you started commenting in here, you started commenting in the chat when I brought up Heritage Foundation. And you're like, this is why y'all lost. But I was just talking about what was actually happening. And you're like, this is why y'all lost. So if we want to come together, we've got to be able to discuss without using language like bigot or fascist or racist, where we don't focus this on Donald Trump and his past and his personality, where we can actually have real discussions on policy implications that will affect all of us.
Right. But I was commenting before you mentioned the whole Heritage Foundation.
doesn't wanna look at the
Because
back
at the end of the day, the rest of the live is going to go exactly why y'all lost.
Are you going to answer the
It-
question
it
about
is.
what can
You're-
you
what-
do better?
what-
Damn it,
what's
I
gonna
asked
end
you
up
what you
hap-
can do better. And
See,
you're back to
what did you just tell me a while ago? The middle
I'm
of
just
my
wondering-
sentence was
I'm just
interrupted by the
wondering-
beginning of yours. Is that what you told me a while
Yeah,
ago?
but I'm cutting
and then you said,
but now I have to mute you. I'm cutting you off. You refuse to answer
and this
questions.
is part. You're proving my point about your
refuse
live.
to answer
You're
any
proving-
questions. I'm asking you what you can do
You're
better,
proving my
Jammin.
point.
Man to man. Nut up. Tell me what you're not good at.
Oh, I'm not good at backing down.
No shit.
I am not good at
no
that.
shit.
You
Now
guys
go a
do
little
not
further.
like
What
that
else are
there's
you bad at? What else could
there's
we what else could we
individuals
work
that
on?
you guys can step all over, and y'all like that.
I'm
But
asking
there's
you
a
to.
new
I'm asking
movement.
you to meet me in the middle,
Let me
bro.
go ahead and
I'm asking you to meet me in the
let me
middle.
know
All
whenever
you
you're
do
done.
is
Let
criticize.
me know when you're.
I'll
Let me
I
know
will
when you're
cut
done.
you off every time you don't answer the question because I'm not in. This is the filling out process. Every caller I've had since the election, I've had a conversation with Jammin. You're the first one I can't have a conversation with. The first one. And I'm not. You're doing the whiny violin. Have a good day. Not interested in you anymore, Jammin. Yeah, I'm interested in good conversations. Look, here's what we do. We're going to figure out who we can and who we cannot work with. And those who we can't work with, we're not going to work with. Right? We'll find the middle. We'll find every other caller we've had. We'll find common ground. Jammin', if you want to be hyper partisan, you can go back to your live. There's a reason there's nobody there. I think the American people are tired of arguing. I think the American people are tired of assigning blame. I think the American people already are tired of talking about this last election. And I'd like to move on from that. So, Jammin', you're welcome back anytime you want to move on from that. Alibi. Ooh, that's clever spelling. And look, some people on our side are tired of this too. Some of you guys don't want to hear it. Some people on our side are unwilling, and we got to be better. We got to stop eating our own. We got to be a little bit better. If we're going to have real conversations with people, there's going to be some awkward moments. We got to be better. Sarles, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I voted for Trump.
Okay.
I agree what you said. Okay, I know. I mean, I don't know Jamin personal, but I've been on his live. He's a very passionate person. I agree with you that, and I love that you owned what you guys. We got to do the same thing, man. Because when Trump won. I'm going to admit what I did. I started freaking trolling liberals. I started saying, ha ha, and then I realized my wife was like, what are you doing, babe? You preach to bring the country back together again, and you're doing the exact opposite. And you know what? She was right. We need to come together because at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We may agree on our policies and all that, but we need to do the exact same thing you said. We need to stop calling you all communists and things like that. We're very bad at that. She's no longer the candidate. She lost. And now we have 4 years of Trump. And we need to start moving America forward now. And then, because I have seen liberal lives, RTP, where they're just bashing Trump right now. Calling him a liar because what he said that he would stop the war and all this. I mean, come on. He meant that hypothetically.
Sorry about that. Just a
No problem.
puzzle piece I have to
But
do.
I've landed my plane, brother.
Look, I appreciate that because I think that's where we have to go. I don't think we can expect Republicans to work with us if we keep using the language that shut them out in the first place. I'm not saying that everything we said was wrong. I think, and not saying everything you guys said was wrong, but I think that the messaging all around wasn't great. However, one thing that was interesting to me looking at the election is that there were a lot of places that we argued along party lines, like in debate spaces. I think abortion's a good example of that, where we kind of had this we had this right versus left mentality. And in truth, the American people were much more open to the idea of having abortion rights protected. They have different cutoffs, but most people are cool with like Roe. Wherever Roe was, most people are cool with that. And you look at that, and then you look at our elections, like, okay, we spent all this time arguing abortion, and when the reality is we didn't need to. Most of the American people agree that this is how it should work, and I think we could coalesce around that. Like places like Florida, places like Texas, places like Idaho, places that are heavily conservative, but still have a majority of the people saying, "Hey, we want access to an abortion at least up to a reasonable time." I think that's places we could find a common ground with Democrats and Republicans and go against, Ron DeSantis or the Florida legislature and say, "Hey, you got to fix this," because they voted. 57% of their people voted to protect a woman's right to have access to an abortion, and the state's like, "No, only if it's 60%." The state's just like, "We don't trust you enough," and I think that we can find agreement there.
Yes. Yeah. But see, this is a really touchy subject because I actually agreed with the overturning. I thought it should be given back to the states. This is what I tell Democrats. Okay. I said, look, if you have a problem with your state's legislator, vote him out. Vote him out.
Yeah, but we have to. Yeah, I agree with that. And that time will come. But I do think it's like our job as an electorate to be better informed and less partisan, right? And we've got to be specifically much better informed. The amount of misinformation that goes around is wild. I mean, the amount of videos I've been sent already about like this election was stolen. I'm just like, come on. Like I just
know,
spent
you know
I just
what?
spent 4 years
Yeah.
saying, guys, like don't
Well,
follow
you
bullshit
know what?
evidence, and then I'm getting
I
videos
agree
like,
with you
check out this
100.
bullshit evidence. I'm like, fuck, we're not
Yep,
doing this.
you know what, bro? I give you that one because what was funny is in 2020 they ridiculed us, and now I am shocked that you're actually. I'm seeing it all over. It's like, look, buddy, okay? It was one thing. Trump lost the electoral college, lost the popular vote. He won them both this time. It's like, come on.
Does
Okay.
it make you at all question, or does it give you any pause? Not question, because we voted how we voted, but knowing now that 2020 probably wasn't stolen, and seeing how obnoxious it is when you're on the other side of it, do you at least recognize that Republicans
Yes,
kind of lied
yes.
about that?
Yeah, okay. I don't want to use the word lie. I think they over dramatized it. Okay. Do I believe there was voter fraud? Yes. Do I believe that it was enough to change the election results? Absolutely not. I had a liberal this year say, look, what did you do? You know what I did in 2020? I went to work the next day. The same thing I'm going to do the next day after this election.
Yeah.
And that is the honest to God truth. And I'm seeing people in your chat, where you're MAGA. No, look, okay, you want to call me MAGA? Fine. I call myself a Reagan Republican, man. Okay, and they can disagree with me. Okay. I truly believe that we haven't had a decent Republican president since Reagan. People disagree with me there. I mean, but and you may laugh at me, but I think Trump is the closest, man.
No,
I really do.
When you say you're a Reagan Republican, what does that mean?
His values.
Okay, because
His values.
that's kind of what I thought. I think that a lot of times when people say Trump is Reagan, they're different.
He's not Reagan. He's not Reagan.
Yeah, like Reagan.
Yeah.
I think the way that they're similar is that a lot of people voted for them because they liked them, and I don't think that happens in politics a great deal of the time. Like I don't think we usually like the person we vote for, and I think Republicans really liked Reagan. He was funny. He always had some joke to tell. He was a good debater. And then you have you have Trump too, who he drives us nuts, and we can't stand him. But he offered something different that you guys hadn't had before.
Exactly.
So I get that, but I do. That makes me nervous, though. Does it make you at all nervous that we know that like this many Americans will vote for somebody kind of like mostly because they like him? Because I don't think most people.
Well, no,
I
wish
Republicans agreed with Trump's agenda. I don't think most of you guys want to deport 20 million people.
Okay, no. And realistically, man, he ain't going to be able to do that.
Right.
I don't see where he can, because there are Republicans in Congress and in the Senate that don't agree with that. So any little agenda that he tries to pull there, no. Look, my father, it was from
Are you
freaking
can
Chihuahua,
I ask you a question real quick
Mexico.
on that? And then go to
Yeah.
your father. Are you confident that the other Republicans in the party would stand up to him if he started doing shit like that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Who gives you? I have no confidence. So that's good. Who gives you confidence that they would stand up to him?
I can't name a Pacific
Okay.
person. I'd be lying to you if I did. But there is, what's that guy? Who's the leader of the GOP? God,
Mike
come on,
Johnson?
I know. Yeah, but they're saying he's going to go out. They're going to vote him out. I think he would do it. Who else?
I have questions. It just seems to me like looking back on history, it seems to me that virtually anybody who has ever stood up to Trump, they're gone.
Yeah. Well, look, he's not bringing Haley back. He's not
Yeah,
bringing.
because she campaigned against him.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
man,
Pompeo,
yeah,
kind of the same thing, was a little bit open.
Yeah.
That's what makes me
Exactly.
nervous. I do think that for whatever reason people are driven to Trump, I think that the scariest part about Trump is that part of his campaign was, hey, and also like everybody agrees with me, and anybody who doesn't agree with me is a problem. And I think that's what makes us nervous. I believe
I
that some
know,
of
but you know,
voters will
he
be
says
upset
off
with
the
that.
wall stuff,
Yeah.
RTP. Okay, just like he said he could stand and shoot somebody or pew pew somebody and we would still vote for him. Come on, man. Do you honestly believe that?
I
Do you want
honestly believe that there is a certain amount of people who would likely accept any explanation he gave. I think that he would come out and he would make some claim about how his life was in danger if he did that. Like if he just said, like, if he just stood there and did it, and then he's like, I just did it for fun to see if you guys would support me, then I do think you guys would not support him. But I think if he had like any sort of explanation at all, that there's a lot of people who would just roll with that explanation.
Yes. Well, man, they're burning me in your chat, man.
Don't
They're
read
all-
it. Don't read it. They're mad at
I'm
me
just
too.
laughing. Listen, buddy, I got to get back
Yep.
to work, but RTP, I appreciate you letting me up, man,
man.
and you have a wonderful day.
You too.
And this gives me hope. See, we're two people on the opposite aisle, and we were able to talk productively and, humbly. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm pretty arrogant. I don't know. You might have been humble.
All right.
right,
All right, RTP.
See
You
ya.
have a good one, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.
Who was next? Yeah, let's see. I'm fine. Look, I'm actually fine today. What's up, Admir? Give me 1 second. I'm actually fine today. If there's opposition from our side today too, I'm cool with that. So if there's opposition from our side, you guys can come up. Admir, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? How you been?
Hey, I just saw you on
Yeah.
camera for the first time. You don't look at all like I thought you were gonna look.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why I was surprised, but I didn't know how I thought you looked. I had a different version of you in my head. I was surprised.
Oh.
I
Well,
thought you were uglier. I'll just say I thought you were uglier.
What?
You're better looking than I thought. Yeah.
Wait a second. You thought I was ugly? Well, I appreciate that compliment. You know
bet.
what I mean?
I didn't believe you had a
I don't-
wife. I didn't believe any of it.
I mean, I've been married for 20 years, 2 kids.
Admir, hold on real quick. Jay, will you check messages, please?
Oh, hey, Jen.
Hey. I have to jump in sometimes because
No,
Jay
you're
doesn't
good.
I
check
forget everything.
our messages between
Swish
us.
says jamming is Big Boat 2.0. I prefer Big Boat to jamming. Scott says, Jay, in my opinion, it would be more productive to debate people on our side on why we should extend an olive branch to MAGA. That's fair. I think that's probably fair. I'll open it up there. And Bree says, plug it in and leave it. Say yeah. Say less. All right, Admir, follow that.
I don't know what the other guy was talking about when he said that you're not arrogant. I think you're one of the most arrogant
Thank
SOBs
you.
I've ever met in my life.
Now we're talking. There we go.
Yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Hey, I wanted to just kind of jump in and find out, because I've been kind of going around and just asking, the lefties the same question. Nobody can kind of seem to answer it. So I'm hoping you can kind of give me an insight. I have an idea, but I want to see if it aligns up.
Okay.
What do you think Harris lost?
What's that?
Why do you think Harris lost in such it was it was just an ass whooping of historical. So why do you think that happened?
It's definitely not like one thing. There's a like if we go through the stuff on our side that's true, I would say that it's absolutely true that there are a certain percentage of people who wouldn't vote for her because she's a woman. There's absolutely a certain amount of people who wouldn't vote for her because she's a black woman. There's also an issue that she had where even if she was perceived as being very liberal, but she was running while she was in the Biden administration, which is not a very liberal administration. And so the messaging could come off as phony. People weren't sure if they trusted that somebody who had been named the most liberal person in the Senate was going to be a liberal, or if that she wasn't being honest about that. She had 100 days. I think that the messaging of and I think this is why I think the messaging of fascism, the messaging of Schmittler, I think that didn't work. But I think it didn't work not necessarily because some of the connections people made weren't true, but because you have to have kind of a nuanced understanding of what you're talking about, or at least like a decent understanding of how fascists rise to even understand what you're talking about. And that's not a good universal message. That's a message you should have between people who understand history and have a common knowledge of history. But on the regular American public, if they hear that word, it's not like they're going to go then search what is fascism, what are the key components of fascism, who were fascists, what led to fascist movements. Most people are just like, wait, I kind of like him and I'm not a fascist, so he must not be a fascist. So I think it was a lot of messaging. I also think you had the perfect storm of a border that we started having issues with in 2019, but you had this big gap in the middle where it looks like Trump border policies like squashed immigration issues when really it was COVID. Then you also have COVID, which led to the economy being really hard for a lot of people for a long time. And so the message of, look, it was hard, but it's getting better. However we messaged that didn't really work. It was true, but it didn't matter. Again, the average American just feels what they feel, and I think Trump's messaging obviously appealed more to average Americans.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I kind of figured out you would say that. I think the messaging was just the opposite than what the people actually wanted to hear. I mean, when you sit here and call people day in and day out, racist, fascist, misogynistic, and all of that, and day in and day out for 4 years, people kind of tend to get tired.
Yeah,
and
that was hard. Look, it's a hard argument when because if you're arguing with, if you're debating with somebody who agree, like has a great knowledge of history, I think that person would agree that there are a lot of similarities between other fascist regimes and Donald Trump, and that should have been more nuanced. But when you have that debate in an open square, and you have a minute at a time or a minute and a half at a time, I don't think it was good. And look, frankly, I think I said like 2 weeks before the election, maybe a week before, I said I really think what Charlemagne is doing is working, because he went on TV and he was like, we should message more that Trump is a fascist. And then you saw people pick that up, and it was gaining traction. It was gaining clicks. But then when you look back, like, it was just gaining clicks with lefties. It didn't gain clicks across the board. It gained clicks with lefties. It was popular only with lefties. And most people just, frankly, aren't that political.
No, I agree. And one of I think the biggest issue that the left had was the actual, I don't want to say name calling, but just the idea that Harris can come in and somehow change everything that has been done in the last 3.5 years. People did not buy into it. When she sits here and says, well, the border, we have no problem with the border, but then runs up on and saying, hey, I'm going to do such and such for the border, it's complaining too.
Yeah,
You
well,
see what
look,
I'm
I
saying?
think that's one of the problems we had. We didn't message it correctly because the Biden-Harris administration, their entire administration, were working on the border trying to get something solved. The very first thing they did was put in legislation, but nobody knew that. Nobody messaged that correctly. We were allowed because there were, and I think this is one of the hard parts about like doing politics with Trump is Trump goes, we call it the weave, call it whatever you want, but Trump gives you 80 sound bites a day that you can track 80 sound bites a day that you can get clicks on, and I think oftentimes we get lost in the things that are more outrageous and we forget to get the messaging right. I just think that we got really distracted with Trump and didn't focus on other things because I think that Harris had an argument on the border. I think she had an argument with the economy, and looking back, like I heard her say it and I'm like, yeah, she's right. So she'll win. But I didn't think like, okay, I know she's right or I believe she's right. How does that messaging work with everybody else? Probably not that good. It's a little bit like it's a little bit too vague. And then, like you said, if you're debating and you don't have a great deal of knowledge and you're like, well, she's going to fix the economy. And somebody says, well, why didn't she do it the first 3.5 years? You're like, I don't know. So, like, I agree with you. Messaging
Yeah.
wise, like I think we focused on all the wrong stuff.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. And, and that's why I say, people ask me, well, when you go on RTPs, why doesn't he cut you off? Why doesn't he curse and all that? And I've always said, listen, if you match the energy, he'll match it 10 times. And that's why I like coming in here because I can have a conversation with you where if I go on the lefty side, I can't even get a word without being muted. I can have a conversation with you and we'll figure it out. And I've never even cursed on your live, and I've never heard you even curse one time that I've been coming up here. But you got people coming in here and Dave, you know what I mean?
That'd be shocking.
Well, no, I'm
to
saying
even
I
me.
did listen. Yeah, you know what I mean? But when people come in here, because, like my boy Jamin came in here earlier and all that, and I was listening, and he will be the first one to tell you, and I will back him up on 100%, is that Trump will have the House, the Senate, and all of that. We will hold him accountable. I will be the first one to hold him accountable if he doesn't deliver to what he says, because now he's not going to have any excuses.
So what are you expecting?
He's not going to have any excuses.
What are the things that like you expect him to deliver? Obviously, there's a bunch of campaign promises. No president ever gets all their campaign promises done. It's never happened ever. So some of the stuff he said, but what's the stuff that you're like, all right, I'm going to hold you accountable to this. Then this is the stuff that was really important to me.
The immigration and the foreign policy.
So you want him to deport the 20 million?
But I don't think that. See, where have you heard him say the 20 million?
I don't know if he said that exact number, but he said
he never said that.
That's the
he
number.
never said that, and that's the problem.
Well, but he said
that
everybody
people
here
on the left
illegally.
say that.
That's where I'm getting that number. So he just said everybody here illegally. The number that's been thrown out by their side is 20 million. So I've just been choosing that number. He may have said it. He may not have. I don't know. But if everybody that's here illegally gets that number's between like 15 and 20 million.
Sure, but then we can go back in from 2008 to 2016 and look at. I know I don't want to go back, but Obama deported almost 12 million.
Yeah.
So why do we have such a fit over it when he did it?
Wait, Obama deported 12 million?
Over.
I don't
in his
think. I
8
think
years.
that included like. I think that number includes asylum seekers that weren't granted asylum.
Everybody. Well, yeah, but I mean, what are you supposed to do with them if they're not granted?
Well, I think the reason that some of us are concerned about people that are here illegally is that even if you throw out like the principle of like, should people immigrate legally? Yes, I think everybody agrees people should immigrate legally. Did people immigrate legally? No. 90% of those are on overstayed visas, but most of the people that came here illegally and have been here for a while are working. And if you deport all of those people, my concern, even just economic, like even not on principles, economically, that's a real problem. Like we will lose something like the estimates are between like 7 and 10% of our GDP we'll lose.
Yes, and because I know a lot of people are saying with Tom Holman, I think Trump just appointed him, and he came out and said, listen, it would take about $80 billion for us to deport all
Yeah.
the people that we wanted. But then the question was asked, well, do we have that money? And then he answered
Yeah, he said
our
something.
national security. Yeah.
He said something like, "Yeah, well,
you
how
know what
much
I
is
mean?
it worth to
You've
you?"
heard that interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things like, okay, so what do you do now? It's like how the plan is there. And a lot of people on the left, and even I've heard him on the right saying, well, they're just going to go out there and collect people from their homes and from their jobs. That's not how that works. I mean, that's not really how that works. And I don't think
honestly
Trump
think
has
that's
come
what
out and
Holman-
ever said that.
But that's what. Yeah, you're right. But I do think Holman has said that. I don't think Trump.
No, he's never said that either.
Let me show you some.
Oh,
let me
don't-
see if I can find it. I was watching it this
Please.
morning. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Where is?
What Holman did say is, and his consistent argument is, with the whole separation of the families and all of that. But I don't think he's ever said that we're going to go, hey, we're going to use our local EOs to go to your houses and all that.
Let me see. I think it was on this interview. Let me get.
New cabinet is starting to take shape because overnight, while you were sleeping, he tapped Tom Homan
through
to be
to where
his border
Homan is.
czar.
Process look like? Because I think some people get the impression that you're shooting from your hip, but you know what you're doing here, right?
I know exactly what I'm doing. And look, this is the second time I came out of retirement for this president, and because it matters. And look, I was a Border Patrol agent. I wore that uniform.
Do you have concerns about how he wears his AirPods? Because I have concerns about
Yeah.
And I'm proud that I wore that uniform.
Let me see if I can
So,
find
I'm
it.
coming back.
Yeah,
but more important than
that's
that,
This is 11-minute video. I'm not going to have it. I'll get it next time. But I think he
Yeah,
said
yeah, no
something.
worries.
I think he said something like, again, like, how are you going to do it? And he's like, well, we're going to come to states. It's going to cost $80 billion. What's your safety worth? He said, like, we'll use law enforcement. They need to get out of our way, or else we'll push them out of the way. Did you see that interview? I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah,
interview?
I watched the same thing. Yeah, that's the same interview. What he also said was, it's because you got states like Colorado, who's I just say it's a heaven state. When a person gets arrested who has no documentation here, the local department, they just let him go. Where if you go down to states like Texas, if you go to other states, they put an automatic, what's called an ICE hold on you. So that's what he's trying to say is, why aren't these laws that are already here, why aren't they being used? Because if they put a hold on somebody who is undocumented, or I'll just call them illegal, then the ICE can come up, process them, figure out what's wrong with it, and if they have to be deported, then deport them. And I'm not talking just from the southern border. I have always advocated on this. I believe the biggest problem, Jay, is the people who overstay their visas. That is the biggest problem that we have in this country.
I agree with that. Is he going to be over ICE? Is DHS over ICE?
They're saying that Trump is going to appoint him as the top DHS dog. Yeah.
Okay, they are over that. Yeah. Okay, I was just making sure. Yeah, DHS. Look, I'll have to go back and watch that interview. I was going to watch it live. If nobody comes up later, we'll watch it live. And then I had some notes on it. But if I remember right, I mean, he was talking about like Rikers Island and turning these prisons into like holding centers and using the federal government to force prisons to allow people who are being held before deportation. I'm just saying, like, I don't even know what the benefit is. I have no idea why we would want to deport these people. I have no idea. Honest to God, I don't know.
Well, so
I haven't heard.
So
a good
I
reason.
understand. Yeah, so I understand that people will get this notion that immigration is good. While I agree it is good, but you and I are reaping the benefits of their doing. Because once they get the EITN number, they don't pay federal into the federal, they pay into the state. So you and I reap the benefits. They don't get no Social Security number. They don't get no benefits. So what I like to call it is a modern day slavery, because you're getting pennies on a dollar. They work their asses off, but you and I reap the benefits.
So why not?
Now, do you think that that's fair?
So why not amnesty?
Well, Trump tried to do that in 2017 when he offered Pelosi and Schumer to say, "Hey, give me $6.8 billion for my wall. I will give you in exchange 1.7 million DACA recipients," and they turned it down.
Yeah, right. They did turn that down, but they turned it down.
Yeah. So why?
I don't. I'm trying. I think it was because of the funding for. Why did they turn it down?
Yeah, because of the funding for the wall. So you think that, $7 billion in exchange to get 1.7 million DACA recipients, is that really a question?
Let me just make sure that's why. I don't remember exactly what she said her reason for turning it down was. I don't even. Did she even give a real reason?
Well, they came
I
out
see.
and
She's like,
gave a
I don't
fake.
see any reason. I don't remember what the reason she gave was.
But I mean, should there be a reason?
I think there could be. I could imagine a scenario where there could be a reason.
But hold up, Jay. 1.7 million people who have been here trying to get their citizenship, who have not committed a crime and all of that. You think that $7 billion should be?
Looks like
just,
700,000 people is what would have, not 1.7 million.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just say 700,000. I mean, 700,000 people. Is that really to get $7 billion to build a wall? You and I could agree, like, here, the hell with your $7 billion. Let 700,000 people get their citizenship.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm trying to figure out like what her reasoning behind it was. I'd have to look. I don't remember exactly what was in that bill, for being honest. I do agree. Like if it made sense, maybe that was a misstep, but I just don't remember. I don't remember, frankly, what was in that bill. I'd have to go look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it just gets to the point where, I've read all of Harris's policies, and one of the things was the housing, the 3 million new homes. Well, hold up a second. If you got estimation is from 2021 to 2024, there was anywhere between 9 and 12 million people that crossed over. So where are you gonna house these people if you're only building 3 million homes?
Well, those
where are you gonna house them?
Those wouldn't be for asylum seekers. The 3 million homes wasn't for asylum seekers.
But they gotta live somewhere, bro. Where are they gonna live?
Well, yeah, but we already have a housing shortage, so 3 million would be a good thing, right?
Well, sure, but who's going to pay for that?
What do you mean, who's going to pay for that?
Who's going to pay for the 3 million new homes?
The people that buy the homes.
Okay, but you got to build them before people buy the homes, right?
Yeah, that's how this works.
Okay, so if a builder builds, let's say, 100 homes and they don't sell for a year or two, somebody's got to cough up that money to build them, right? The builder is not going to cough up this money.
No. The builders. That's how it works, dude.
No, sir. That's not how it works.
Listen, I grew up. My dad's a general contractor. That's what we did our
so
whole
am
life.
I.
Yeah, so he gets a construction loan. And some of these
30%
places, some of these
normally.
Yeah, some of these other. Yeah, look, it was going to go to people with money. The people that were going to do well off these 3 million were builders. Builders were the ones that were going to do well.
Well, yeah, the builders are, but the consumer isn't.
Well, but potentially the consumer does, right? If you get enough houses in the market, and it drives down demand.
Yeah, but I mean, if the housing market, the supply and demand isn't meeting what the consumer is there, 3 million. You're not going to build 3 million homes in a year or two.
No, you're certainly not. No, there's no quick fix. Well, there is a quick fix for it, but nobody would ever agree to it. The quick fix is tell every corporation that every house that they own, they have to sell, and that they cannot own homes anymore. That's the real solution. That's one of the things that's frustrating for me in talking like right versus left. Is the real solution is corporations should not own homes. Corporations are one of the main drivers of why housing prices have been driven up and why they are unaffordable. That's what the real answer should be. But unfortunately, those same corporations have a lot of influence in Washington.
Sure, I don't disagree with that. But to kind of piggyback on the immigration thing, I mean, you and I can sit here and agree without even a question that the immigration system can be fixed. What I would say, I'll just use Trump's it within 24 hours. But neither side will come up to do that because it doesn't benefit them.
Can I ask you a question?
I say go
real
after
quick?
them. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question about immigration because I thought about this. I don't know why anybody argues anymore. I don't think you will, but I think at this point everybody recognizes that Donald Trump absolutely used the influence that he had to kill that immigration bill. We could probably argue about how much influence he had. I think he has almost unlimited. Other people could argue it's less than that. but now that we're past and he won, do you guys recognize that? Or well, one, I want to know: do you think he would have won even if that bill passed? Because I actually think he probably would have won even if that bill had passed.
I don't think the bill had any play in it.
Right. So two, then, do you recognize that now you're going to get, at least for conservatives, they're going to get a watered down bill? I actually think you'll like a bill, this bill better. I'll like this bill better. I think that if a bill goes through Congress, we'll probably see something addressing amnesty or DACA, because that's the leverage that Democrats will have. So you're going to get a less conservative bill. Maybe you like that bill better. Sounds like you might agree with me and think that's a better bill if we include DACA and amnesty.
Yeah, why not include it all, and let's come to an agreement where both sides are happy.
Yeah,
but
that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. Nobody's ever allowed to be happy.
And that's why I say Democrats and Republicans will never agree on immigration, because it doesn't benefit their pockets.
Yeah.
Because they can solve this thing in 24 hours. Don't punish the people that are coming over. Don't punish the people. Punish the companies who are hiring them for less wages while they get the money and everything else.
Yeah, it's
why not go after the companies?
Yeah, it's interesting to me, like going forward. There are real solutions to this, and it's what drives me fucking crazy. Like, and these are win-wins where if we throw out Trump, if we throw out ideology, I think it's easier to get to certain places. But specifically talking about immigration, all of us just want something sensible. Nobody wants to see families ripped apart. Everybody actually just wants economic benefits. The answer to why we're spending too much on housing and feeding immigrants, the answer to that is not only allowing people to work, but also paying a living wage. But then we have these corporations who lobby to keep the minimum wage low, and then so we can't increase the minimum wage. So it's almost like no matter what, we have a problem in this country where we have labor that people born in this country aren't willing to do because the wages are too low. People coming from other countries are willing to do that labor for low wages, but if they can't get into the country, then the company has to hire them illegally, and because the company wants to keep their profits where they're at. It's just this cycle that keeps going and going and going. And it just seems like as Americans, we could say, all right, let's put protections. Let's make sure that you get paid a living wage. And if you want to come here and work, fine, come here and work. If we have jobs open, come here and work. We've got 10 million jobs open, and somehow we're arguing whether or not we can take in more immigrants. I think we probably need more immigrants. We got a bunch of jobs
I
to
agree
fill.
with everything that you just said. And I don't think the issue, at least the people that I kind of converse and everything, we've never said that we do not want immigrants. That is not an argument that we'll ever make. It's how the process to come here is being implemented.
So if Trump,
you can ask any Republican, and they'll tell you, no, we don't have the problem of how people come in. I mean, the people come in because we all know people want better lives. It's how they come in, because at the border we do not have any vetting process whatsoever. Zero. We have zero vetting process at the border.
Do you think vetting's a big issue?
Yes, I think that's the major issue, and I can make an example out of it.
Well, could we do one with? Because I think one of the things that is trouble me with vetting is that most of the time when somebody says we have a vetting issue, then they share a story. But I try and not be swayed just by stories and look at the data, and by the data, I don't think we have a vetting issue. Certainly there's so many people, there's going to be crimes, there's going to be people that come to this country and do awful things. But it seems to be the data says that they're less likely to commit crimes. They're less likely to commit violent crimes. They don't want the police to know who they are. So to me, the vetting one always felt like bullshit, honestly.
No, but I can make an argument for that, because if for instance, like earlier I said, as far as people overstay their visas. So anybody that comes over from, like, let's say HB1 visa, tourist visa, student visa, you know who they are. You know their background, because for you to apply for HB1 visa or student visa, I mean, it's a comprehensive application that takes sometimes months, even a year, right? The issue that you have from the southern border, because when people come in, they're not just coming in from Mexico, Venezuela, and all of that. That's not the problem. Is Why are people coming from Uzbekistan through the southern border? Why are people coming from China from the southern border? From Uzbekistan, from Turkey, from China? Why are they coming from the southern border? What is the
I don't know why.
issue?
I don't know why are they.
Well, but that's the $1 million question.
Don't you think we
Nobody
should-
seems to
wait,
can answer.
Wait, let's figure it out. Why do you think? Why are they?
Well, that's because they know they can come in there because using 1158 of the immigration law says as soon as they step on the U.S. soil, they can claim an asylum.
So why couldn't they do that?
And
at
nobody
the
can question.
So why wouldn't they come to the northern border?
Because they know they can. Well, hold on, but you got to go into Canada first. And Canada doesn't allow that. Look at their strict laws.
Okay, so it sounds like the vetting isn't an issue here either, because we can't stop people from flying into whatever country they want to, and they're going to pick the country that makes it easiest to fly in and out of. But I don't think it's us. I don't think that's a vetting problem. I think that's other countries have different rules problem.
Well, so if you have a person where they come from, let's just use Mexico, right? They're coming through the southern border and they step in and they say, hey, I want to file an asylum based on political persecution. Then the officer's discretion is to ask him several questions, and based on that, he says, okay, you're good to go through the process, or nope, we can do that. The biggest issue is that the BP officers are not doing that. That is the biggest issue, and this has been addressed by the CBP.
Can't people just lie?
In the past 2 years? Fly where?
No, lie.
And that's the hands of the vetting process. How do you vet them? Is there a facial recognition thing? I've talked about this on numerous on my live saying, hey, why did Biden not extend the DNA at the border for children? Why did he not extend that? Why did he cut that out?
Do you don't think that's inhumane?
Why would that be inhumane?
You're forcing people to give their DNA?
Hold on, but we know that there is child trafficking that happens all day.
We do, but in this country, there's a lot. Like we know there's problems in this country, and we don't strip people of their rights because crimes happen, right?
But yeah, I agree. But we're not talking about citizens. We're talking people that come from a border.
Okay, but why should they be treated less humane?
But that's not. But how is it less humane? So hold on. So if I get pulled over, right? If I get pulled over driving, and I'm drunk, and I get pulled over, and I know you've heard this before, and if I have my child with me, I get arrested. What's going to happen to my child if they can't get a hold of my wife or a family member?
CPS.
Okay, so isn't that inhumane?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what's the difference?
The difference is, so you're putting not only your child. Well, actually, I'm going to take it back. No, you drove drunk with your child. Like you are more harm. You're more harm to your child than CPS.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking is it inhumane for that child to go into CPS?
No, that's not the part I think is inhumane.
But why wouldn't it be inhumane?
I think it's inhumane to separate people for crimes of like essentially this would be like a procedural crime. I think like a better comparison would be like you got a seatbelt ticket and then they separated you and your children. Because I think a DUI is a felony. I think what we're talking about here is a misdemeanor.
DUI is a misdemeanor.
It can be a felony.
Yeah,
right?
if you're habitual, sure.
Sure.
Okay. If you're so your first one, second, and then at least in the state of Colorado, it's the third one.
I know some states, if you have kids
and,
in the car, like it can elevate. It's different by state, but either way, like I think a better comparison is if you got a seatbelt ticket, should you be separated from your family? And I don't think anybody would agree with that.
No, but I'm saying if we know the numbers of child trafficking that has happened, and I'm not just talking about under Biden or Trump, I'm just talking about last since 2000. If we look at the numbers.
Well,
the numbers are astronomical.
Know, in order for us to make a judgment, like in order for me to get on board with doing DNA testing, you would have to show me that like the child traffickers are largely abusing this asylum process. And one of the issues I've seen when we talk about the numbers and especially human trafficking is, generally speaking, we don't really have an idea. We know the total number of children who came here, and then you'll see like, oh, the majority of them are being human trafficked, or they're being work trafficked. And the truth is, we don't actually know. We have no idea. It could be one person. It could be 50 people. I think that it's likely, based on the limited knowledge I have just from studying Tim Ballard, is that I don't see that most people who are trafficking children are doing that at like asylum lines, in asylum lines. I could be wrong, but I would have, in order for me to get on board with that, I would have to look at those asylum law lines, and I would have to see some data that's saying, oh, we're getting human trafficking coming through here.
Yeah. So next time I come in, I'll actually bring you. I'll bring you the data that shows that how much each year, how many kids are being trafficked directly of the asylum 1158 impact. Because if you got a woman, what do you mean? How do they
get the number of people trafficked?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So if a woman comes in and has a child, right? Now that child is being reported. The CBP will know it immediately.
How? Wait, what?
And that's why I said.
What will they know?
Okay. Yeah. So if a woman comes in with a child, right? If you look at under a Trump administration when he implemented that DNA, if you just look at those 3 years that was there, right? You can tell the numbers while the DNA, because it was an instant DNA of how many people were arrested based on the child trafficking and how many kids were saved.
What year did Trump put that in place?
Oh, don't quote me. When I get home, I'll actually send it. I believe it was either 2018 or 2019, and it expired in 2022.
Okay, wait, but there's a more, and then we see, obviously, I haven't even looked at this data, but I'm going to guess that once Trump put that in, it crashed. There was virtually like very, very little child trafficking after he put that in, right?
Well, the numbers didn't go just, from,
but wait,
high
I'm
to just
guessing
immediately, you know what I mean?
Right?
But they did go down.
But what
they
else,
did go down.
But what else went down during that time?
What do you mean, as far as intake, the getaways, and is that what you're getting at?
People stopped coming to our border.
Well, and why is that?
We had COVID, so you had protections. You had like Remain in Mexico. You had Title 42. Essentially, the border entry to our country was essentially shut down.
Yeah, but when was not Title 42, but Remain? When was that implemented?
2020, I assume.
It's 2019. COVID didn't even get here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then we can tell the numbers from 2019 until the COVID hit. The numbers dropped drastically, but just by him implementing the Remain in Mexico.
Didn't COVID started in 2019?
2019. We didn't even know about it. Officially, it was March of 2020 is at least when my state kind of took the whole shutdown bullshit.
Yeah, but we knew about it though.
Well,
Trump very early banned travel from China. Trump was trying to ban travel from everywhere during that time.
You're already talking in 2020. You're talking when he came out and said.
I was thinking late 2019, early 2020, before we had anything concrete. Like the very first things he was doing was talking about we're going to shut down travel from all these places.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, that was in late 2019 is when they, kind of the whole world was kind of finding out about this. But we, as a society, I mean, here nobody was taking it seriously at all.
Right,
until probably there was,
I'm just saying that the data that we're saying, like if we're trying to use data saying these numbers went down, I think the more logical explanation is, all numbers went down because of COVID.
Well, sure, but I mean, if you look at Title 42, when was that implemented, and when it expired, the numbers are not backing up the data what you're talking about.
Wait, say that again. Sorry, I was just looking because I'm just looking at Trump's DNA plan. It started in 2020, in January of 2020. So it might have passed before that, but it went. So I mean, this data just tracks exactly with a drop in of total numbers of immigration.
Yeah, But I'm saying is if you take that, forget about, let's just for a moment, forget about the C-19. If the C-19 does not happen and the DNA is in place, plus the remain in Mexico policy is there, just off of the few months that we know that how much data shows, nobody can deny that based on just the data, it was very effective. It was a deterrent.
I don't think the data shows that the DNA testing was a deterrent. I think the data shows.
No, I'm talking remain in Mexico policy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But we were talking
So
about DNA testing, right?
Well, we were talking about both. I know that. So
no, we were saying we were trying to figure out like how we determine if trafficking is a real problem with asylum seekers. That's where we started. And then we went to the DNA testing, and then you said, well, when Trump put the DNA testing in, it dropped the numbers. But I think the numbers dropped. I think the numbers were dropping anyways. I'm just saying, like,
because
data
of the remain in Mexico and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think
I agree with
that
you
the DNA testing was really fixing anything.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at when did it expire? So you're saying in January 2020. So it expired in January 2023. Right?
I don't know if it was January. I don't know if it was an expiration or if
it just lapsed
or
over.
Or if they canceled it. I can't remember. I'll have to go look.
Yeah, but if we look at the numbers, let's just say 4 years prior to 2020. If we look at the numbers of child trafficking versus just from 2020 to 2023, let's say, the numbers, I mean, you can tell that it works. The plan was in place and it worked. The question is, why was it not continued if the data shows that it worked?
Because I don't agree with you. I don't think the data shows that it worked.
Okay. Next time I come in, I'll show you the data strictly from CBP.
No,
that shows how many.
What I mean is, you're giving credit for the DNA testing as if that stopped child trafficking. I think it was.
No, I never said it stopped.
Or no,
I never said it
stopped some of it is what I meant. Sorry, not all the way. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I think Title 42 and Remain in Mexico had a lot more to do with that.
Sure, but then why were they? Title 42 is just strictly for that. But then why didn't they go with Remain in Mexico when you knew it worked? It was a perfect deterrent.
You can't.
Okay, so why didn't the Biden-Harris extend it then?
They couldn't.
Why not?
It's illegal.
How is it illegal? Because of what?
Trump needed emergency authorization in order for it to be legal, which he was granted during COVID. But once the COVID pandemic was over, there was no emergency authorization. So any deal that you had with Remain in Mexico would have had to be negotiated with Mexico and passed through Congress. Mexico said no.
Okay, because of the disclosure ruling. I understand that. But what I'm trying to get at is if you already know that it was effective, why can't we figure out a way that earlier I mentioned that all they have to do is step foot on U.S. soil. That's all they have to do because that's what our law says.
Well, we would have had to run.
How do we then?
Some of that was addressed with the bill, with Langford's bill. Some of that stuff was addressed with Langford's bill. But we have to pass a bill through Congress in order to get it done.
But hold on, but Langford bill only addressed certain things. It didn't address on how to prevent. Hiring extra 1,500 border police officers is not going to solve a problem. It's not even going to do a dent in it.
No, there was plenty of stuff in the border for asylum. In the border bill.
Okay, so let's run it down.
Including
so
changing like who can initially process some of those claims, adding judges, adding funding, obviously, for Border Patrol. Even there was funding in there for Wall. There was funding in there for updating our policies. That bill was meant to speed things up for asylum seekers.
And I'm not denying that. I'm not denying it. I think something wasn't right. I think the Republicans should have passed that bill. I think the reason why they didn't, I don't think it's because Trump said it. I think because the Republicans, and I'll sit here and admit it, it's the ego thing. It's the ego thing. I'm not going to sit here and BS. I think it was the ego thing. Why they didn't pass it? Because.
But what does that say? That the very people that you voted to keep in power chose their ego over the thing that you care about. Oh, what's up, La? I didn't see you.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, Law? I
Take
was
over.
just waiting.
Fix everything, La. Tell me all the things
Yeah.
we fucked up.
Yeah, Law.
There's so much. Like I'd have to scroll back and look through your Discord chat to figure out everything I was refuting. But I mean, the first off, the non-vetting. I posted a copy of the form I-589 that has to be done. Border Patrol doesn't do asylum interviews. It's USCIS officers that do those interviews. And there's a very comprehensive form, and they actually hold them in detention until they can verify the information on the form before they're released. Going to the DNA testing, the number one reason why we had DNA testing was because what they were using children for wasn't for trafficking. It was for trying to avoid detection at the border, because Border Patrol was more likely to let family units through than they were to allow than to just have solo people going. And the DNA testing was incredibly expensive. It was about $700 to $900 per a rapid DNA test. But the Border Patrol or the USCIS officers found that they could obtain the same information by merely interviewing the people. They would separate the child from the person who was claiming that they were a parent of and just ask them a few questions. And when the questions didn't match up, it became they were able to establish that they weren't the parents of the children. Combine that with there was a huge privacy concerns about what the government was doing with all of that DNA data that they were holding back. But at the end of the day, it was just an expensive thing that was already being able to be resolved by other things. But it wasn't human trafficking that was the main issue. It was people trying to sneak past the border.
So then let me ask you, because I know which form you're talking about, and you say that they keep him in detention and all of that. So let's just say a person comes from my old country, right, former Yugoslavia. How are they going to vet them, and how are they going to verify the information that somebody's talking about? What is the process?
Well, so countries that have cooperative information sharing agreements, they get through faster, but they presume the information to be true unless they can verify otherwise. So, if your former Yugoslavia, there may be problems with data sharing and things like that, but the fact is that that's just what our law allows them to do. If they have cooperative data share agreements, they're out of the detention within a day or two. Sometimes it takes longer for them to try and confirm the information. But if they have any probable cause that the person's a danger or doesn't have a credible fear, they're just going to deny the credible fear in the first place and send them back.
Okay. So hold on a second. So you're basically saying that all I have to do is go to the border, an officer is going to ask me questions, and I can lie to them on that, and I will be released pending judges for the asylum seeking.
Well, no. So you have to fill out the form is very comprehensive. It has you give the dates of every time you entered a different country, what you left, what your specific claims for asylum are. If you're claiming because of political persecution, because of particular social group, convention on torture, whichever of those claims you're making, and they have to go through and make sure that those conditions actually exist in your country. That's why about half of the people who even don't even get past the credible fear interview, because if you come and say, hey, I'm coming from Jamaica and I'm a Rastafarian and I have a credible fear of persecutions because of my political beliefs, you're not going to get through because they're unable to substantiate that. And one thing that the Langford bill did was it raised that the standard that USCIS has on the credible fear is not just a credible fear based off of what they say, but they have to actually establish reasonable suspicion that the fear exists in their home countries.
Okay, so then where can I go? Where can I go to look this up where it says stats that they're being held for a day or two or whatever they're being held, and where would they be held in? Because if I look at, let's say, El Paso right now at the immigration center, they're not even full. So are you saying that people that come in here are just ask these questions on the form and let go? Where can I find this out? What site can I go to?
Yeah, well, if so, the Executive Office of Immigration Review and the Customs and Border Patrol, they've got their reports out there, but they'll show you the average time of detention that asylum seekers are going through. But right now, I think if you're talking about right now, our border encounters are lower than they've been in 4 years. So
And why is
now
that?
wouldn't be necessary.
But hold on, and
I
why
think
is that?
Well, I think Biden's executive order had a good part to do with that, but also other countries are stabilizing. The reasons why people are leaving to claim asylum aren't as strong.
Yeah, so Biden puts an executive order that says, hey, you must directly go through the border to seek an asylum and all of that. So the numbers are going to drop, of course. So this notion that they say,
But they were
well, the
dropping
numbers
before,
are
too.
lower.
This is a hard one. It's a hard one. If you look just at the charts, it's a hard one to like. I don't know if we can gauge how much impact Biden's executive order had, because, like Law said, the other countries are stabilizing. A lot of the people that were going to come here have already come here. It's not like there's an unlimited amount of people who are trying to get into our country. And so I've looked at that data over and over. It's really, really hard just from the data to tell how much of an impact Biden's executive order had. Maybe, Law, you've seen some data I haven't seen, but for me, it was hard to really parse that.
Well, I mean, admittedly, that's just a correlation causation, which could be entirely wrong. Yeah. But it's, there was a steady decrease even before that happened. I think something else that's been helpful too is the ability to schedule your asylum interviews through like the CBP One app, so that
don't say that word. They'll all come running.
Yeah, they don't know what it actually does.
Vance's ears just perked up. What did it say?
Yeah, they don't know what it actually does. But it allows you to just schedule that credible fear interview. So now instead of people, just showing up on a day-to-day basis trying to get in and claim asylum, which, right now the border shuts down at 2,500 on an average of 5,000 in one day. Instead of just having them, come back and say, sorry, the doctor is out, come back tomorrow. They're actually able to schedule an interview. So it takes a lot of the pressure off at the ports of entry.
I'll have to look that up, Law. Now I'm very interested. I'm going to have to do a little digging in it.
Dig, baby, dig.
I'm definitely going to have to do a little digging in it.
Drill, baby, drill right into that.
I hadn't looked at this I-589 Law, so help me out on here. Like, I see that in the I-589, like you said, it takes you through, like, when did you leave your country? List each entry into the United States, beginning with your most recent. What country issued your passport? So you're telling me that once they fill this out, they can't be released until they verify it, right?
Right, and
what happens
there's
if
lots
they
of
can't
countries.
verify it?
Yeah, they hold them until they can find any reason to disprove their claims. So they presume that the information is true until they can find it, and they have. Initially, it's up to 72 hours, but they're able to extend that under certain circumstances. A lot of countries have cooperative sharing of information with us, so we're able to pretty much verify their information instantly. But if there are reasons, if they find that there's a reason that maybe something isn't accurate, that they misrepresented something, they can hold them for longer until they verify the veracity of that information. But I mean, Admir has a point where if you can't just hold them indefinitely. If you can't prove something is false, you have to presume it to be true. But there's just not a whole lot of data to show that there are these people that are going through this process and they're acting in such nefarious ways.
Yeah. Okay. Admir,
okay.
Got any more
I'll
questions?
agree with him. No, man, as usual. Appreciate your love. We'll meet another time. Thank you.
Yeah,
and
dude,
then,
that's good.
We'll just connect some other time.
Yeah.
Take care,
Thanks a
man.
lot. Jen's been sending me all your links. I've been reading them. Now that you were speaking, I'm like, oh, okay. Now I get what you're talking about. So I appreciate it.
All right.
I got
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Jim.
See you.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Let me read some messages. Cody says the problem with local authorities aiding in deportation is that it causes immigrants to not trust law enforcement and crime would go unreported. Interesting. That makes sense to me. I don't know if the data matches up there. Bree says, dig, baby, dig. Oh, the digging I'd let you do to me. Wow, I'm unhinged. Sorry, not sorry. It's not a shovel. It's not, I promise, it's not a shovel. It's normal shape. It's not a shovel. Shit, this one's not loading. Mark. Load, baby, load. I shouldn't have said that. That was not a good idea. There we go. Sorry. Mark says the pigs pulled us into the mud and we came out dirty. Adjusting tone applies to Trump as well. Yeah, I agree. It's just like waiting around for everybody to get on the same page and get out of the mud. Like somebody's got to go first, and so maybe we're some of the first ones to get out of the mud, and we'll just do our best to keep people out of the mud. Joy says, for vacation, enjoy. Thank you. They're going to have to earn my vote back. I love that. I actually love that, Joyce. I like that you said they're going to have to earn your vote back. Bree says, I won't be extending an olive branch to them, but I hope you extend your olive branch in me. I don't remember if I read that out loud before or if that's the first time I've read that out loud. Sarah says, tell any man to shut the fuck up for me. Who's any man? Any man? Oh, hey, Jen. Let me see if there's any other ones. Go to Cash App. Jumar says, more like unload, baby, unload into the sister wives. And Kieran says, just a token of thanks, absent overt sexualization. Thank you. It's nice to have that. What's up, Jen? Go ahead.
So, are you updating the total?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Okay. So, as you guys see, we've got a gift goal. I know our blushing host isn't fantastic at doing the math, but
worst.
I have a feeling we're not close. We're probably pretty far off. So, I'm not mad, a little disappointed. I mean, I think you guys could do better. We've got enough time, probably like an hour and 20 minutes to get there. So don't let me down. So if you want to send a message, you can make him blush. Or I mean, that's my favorite.
Whatever. Or just
if you want to make
not.
it up to me for the disappointment, if you could make him blush, that would make me happy. And then I got a joke for you.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
What's hot, pink, and wet?
Hot, pink, and wet. I don't know.
A pig in a hot tub.
Stupid. Get out of here. It's so dumb. Wow, Jen the Guild. Gift isn't available. Gifting's not available? Is that true? Gifting should be available. All right, next up. I think it was My Name Is No was next. Thank you for being patient. Nope, you're not here. Jaren. My Hot Pocket. Don't call it a Hot Pocket. Don't call it a Hot Pocket. Oh, I didn't know that about gifting. That's interesting. A tariff has been put on gifting. That's crazy. So well, some gifts came through. I mean, some have come through. That's weird. Maybe it was Russians all along. Maybe that's where they were getting. Who would be our country? Who would sponsor the left? Who's our country to go to? Who's going to sponsor us? Haley says, Jesus. I'm having sex with you tonight. You might as well be there. I don't know if I'm getting drugged. I don't even know what that means. Jesus. Terry says, Jay, if they lower the age of marriage to 12, it's no longer grape. No, but where did I see that they're trying to raise the age to 9? I want to say Iraq. Terry, I don't know. I don't know if that was something I said. I don't know. Brittany says, I'm not feeling unhinged today. I just want a hug. Okay. Says to wife number 9. Brittany, air hug for you. Is that Iran? I thought it was Iraq. Did I say raise? Lower. Sorry. Sorry. Raise. That'd be crazy if it was raised. We'd be like, all right, they're headed in the right direction. Lowering it to 9. Yeah, I think it was Iraq. All right. Let's do this. There's boxes empty. Let me show you what I was talking about, because here's why people have concerns with Tom Homan, and maybe Republicans come up again. The tricky part with these messaging, and I apologize. I'm gonna do my best not to make everything about Trump and make things more about like the actual concern. Because I think that's where we can find, like, before we find common ground. I actually don't give a shit about common ground, if we're being honest. But before we can get people to move off of their position, you have to find common ground first, right? You have to figure out where you're starting from so that you can move somebody from their position. And I think a lot of times, like, we've just looked at like end position, and the shouting back and forth doesn't work. So I'm absolutely dedicated to getting people to move left of wherever they are, really. But before I can do that, before any of us can do that, we're going to have to figure out where our common ground actually lies so that we can build a base and go forward. That's not always going to be possible, but I do think that there's, like, with Admir, I know there were some people upset at Admir. I guess he was in Adam's live earlier. I've always had good conversations with Admir, so I don't know. So maybe this is the place where MAGA degenerates find a home. I don't know. I apologize in advance, but that's the goal. You have to create rapport first. No joke. Yeah, rapport it matters. Like, just think about if you had two groups, any other groups. Let's not make it political, but any other two groups, you want to get them together. You want them to find, like, you want them to stop fighting. The first thing you're going to do is try and establish some sort of, like, figure out where your common ground is so that you can build off of that. Wine too fascist. Wine is too fascist. What is Iraq's current age? I don't know what Iraq's current age of consent is. I don't know. Somebody, you guys figure that out. I saw that literally right before I went live. I was like, God damn. All right, so here's Mark Homan, and I'm going to be honest. I think Mark Homan is a terrifying pick. I really think he's a terrifying pick, just because I don't think there's a lot of humanity there, and I think that if you're on the front lines, if you're on Border Patrol, if you're ICE, whatever, like, you are facing some danger, and I understand being, like, keyed up, wanting to protect yourself, wanting to put in rules that maybe aren't super great for people who are trying to immigrate here, but who keep you safer. I feel like Mark Homan goes so far beyond that this is why I have concerns with him. This is a clip from, I think, 2018 from 60 Minutes.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
That's what we were talking about. Just as an olive branch. Now, they wouldn't do this, but if you really were going to do this at certain times, Elon Musk would have been deported. Melania would have been deported. There's a lot of people that would have been deported here. That's a scary thing to say. Is there not a better way to try and keep families together? And it's this hardline approach that I think makes me nervous about Mark Homan. He doesn't even try to pretend like there's a human aspect here. And I think that that Trump, if anything, he has a tendency to choose people who he views as strong leaders, which also means that it's people who are kind of not bendable. And so look, MAGA, you guys won the election. Republicans, you won the election. If you have people that are put in office that are unbendable in this administration and they're doing what you want them to do, I get it. I get why you don't care that we want them to do something different. But most Republicans have said, this isn't what we want. And so that's what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for some, for 4 years, however long Trump's in office. And then if somebody, I don't know if he's going to make it or not. But I just think we need Republicans at least, and I'm trying to get on board with when people say shit like this, like, can we find a common ground? If you find me a MAGA that disagrees with that comment, I will send you $10. Yeah, look, if you're MAGA, you can make me some money. Yeah, we'll see. Here's what we'll do, Bertie. When they come up, we'll ask them if they agree or disagree with this. And I'll try and do it in a way where they don't feel like they're forced to agree. But yeah, maybe you're right. You might be right about that. By the way, box is open. Even if you just disagree with me, Even if you're on my side, you disagree with me, that's fine. You can come up too. But then he goes on to Fox. So it was announced, I think,
President-elect Trump
that he was going to be the selection for DHS, which is Department of Homeland Security. And then he went on Fox this morning. This is a longer interview, so we'll go kind of piece by piece. And let me move this to cover that up. But here was Holman on Fox this morning.
New cabinet is starting to take shape because overnight, while you were sleeping, he tapped Tom Homan to be his border czar.
Trump saying, quote, there is nobody better at policing and controlling our borders. Likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin.
All right, let me get these comments out. So that's Trump's announcement this morning. Fuck. Bree says, MAGA may not be bendable, but I'm extremely malleable. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bree says, you're offering hugs. How hard can I get you to hug me? Probably pretty hard. I don't know. Michael says, go see the movie Heretic, psychological thriller. I've heard about Heretic. Isn't that something I know a bunch of ex-Mormons went to? Isn't it something ex-Mormon-y? I don't know much about it, but I think it is because I just see ex-Mormons talking about it. Is it about have any of you seen it? All my ex-Mormon friends are watching it. It's great. My messages are, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to go see it. Maybe I'll watch it when I'm in Mexico.
He worked with the president to come up with this job description. So let's hear from him. In his first interview after the major announcement, incoming border czar.
I just want to say that, like, that part, he worked with the president to figure out what this job assignment is. I do have questions about that. Like, why are we defining what the job, the definition is? Like, we have laws, we have rules, we know what the role is. If he's DHS, if he's just border czar, then that's just a made up position. And then that's maybe more scary.
Tom Homan. Tom, congratulations to you. It's bad for us. We lose you as a contributor. What went into the decision and the position?
Well, look, I've been on this network 4 years complaining about what this administration did to the.
This also sorry to stop. This also makes me nervous. I don't like. I just it's the cult in me. I don't like people who worship other people. And one of two things is true about Homan. He's either probably just worships Trump like some people did, or this is a troll. Either way, I don't like that. I don't.
This border.
He's begging other states. He's like, we got to all come together. He's going to need states to cooperate with him. I would like to see a little less of that.
And screaming about it, telling them what they need to do to fix it. So when the president asked me, would you come back and fix it? Of course I have to. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. So, look, I'm honored the president asked me to come back and help solve this national security crisis. So I'm looking forward to it. And look, I love Fox. I love the family there. But I think that the calling is clear. I got to go back and help because every morning I get up. Every morning I'm pissed off about what this administration did to the most secure border in my lifetime. So I'm going to go back and do what I can to fix it.
So, Tom, let's talk about.
Yeah, look, this guy just comes off as hyper partisan to me. I don't think if you were on the other side, if this was our person, if they were just using their first public opinions to just trash and also mislead. There's no evidence that was the most secure border of his lifetime. It wasn't. It's just not true. But again, this is a person who seems hell-bent on vengeance. And I worry about people entering office who are like, I'm here for vengeance. This is a person who was historically awful in Senate hearings. Historically awful. Just refused to follow the rules, yelled over people, constantly interrupted as a guest. It's just somebody who thinks that their opinion should be the loudest and the only one heard regularly. It just comes off hyper partisan to me.
About the job, because you're not an amateur. You've been doing this for years. You're a beat cop. Also, you worked the border before, went over to ICE. You've done it all. What does the process look like? Because I think some people get the impression that you're shooting from your hip, but you know what you're doing here, right?
I know exactly what I'm doing. And look, this is the second time I came out of retirement for this president. And because it matters. And look, I was a Border Patrol agent. I wore that uniform, and I'm proud that I wore that uniform. So, and I was an ICE agent. I was the first ICE director that actually came up through the ranks. So the 20,000 men and women that work for me, I didn't ask them to do anything. I didn't do myself because I was one of them. So look, I know the border, and I know there's a lot of great patriots. Look, I shut my phone off Friday night because I couldn't handle the phone calls, the texts, and emails from thousands of ICE agents and Border Patrol agents excited about the rumor I'm coming back. But more importantly, that thousands of retired agents, retired Border Patrol agents, retired military that want to come in and volunteer to help this president secure the border and do the deportation operation. So I've been off the grid for 3 days.
See, I don't think that's I don't think that's what you should hear. I don't want to hear that out of DHS. I appreciate Border Patrol. I appreciate. I don't really appreciate ICE, but whatever. I appreciate the people who work in those programs who are doing something that they feel will make the country better. I'm good with that. I don't think they're the best people to endorse this. When you have this many people in the organization, like, yeah, we need, like, we're so happy that you're here. That tells me that they think that they're going to have less restrictions. And I don't think that that's a good thing. I don't ever think giving police more freedom has ever been a good thing in this country. I think it leads to more cruelty, but more importantly, it isolates. This is a person who came up through ICE, worked for Border Patrol. This is somebody with a very narrow view of what happens on the border. And we've seen it time and time again. This is not a person who cares about humanity, dignity. If you're working and you're in charge of the border, you need to be able to come up with solutions that work for everybody, that are the most humane, the most compassionate border policies we possibly can. And so I look at the people that are lining up behind Homan, and I'm like, I don't like the people lining up behind him. It's not the moderate folks. It's not the people who think that immigrants should be treated like people. That's my concern with Homan. I don't think this is. I don't think you want to bring up somebody from CBP or ICE and have them be in charge. I think you need somebody that also includes like a worldview of what immigration policy is, maybe somebody who understands the legislative work and people who understand the humanitarian crisis that leads people to come to the border. I think this guy has like 1 out of the 4 qualifications needed, that he understands Border Patrol. And I think, to me, that's about all he understands.
It's just because I couldn't handle all the phone calls, and plus all the death threats rolling in. My family's not at home right now because that's starting. But that's something we're going to deal with. They're not going to bully me away. They're not going to shut me up. They're not going to make me go away. This is the biggest national security vulnerability this nation has seen since 9/11. We have to fix it.
I can't find any evidence of that. And does anybody believe that, by the way? Does anybody think that this is our biggest threat to national security? No, there's so many other things that are more threatening to our national security. So many more. Listen, this idea that we're going to be invaded from our southern border and taken over, like that, sure, that worked in like the 1800s when that was possible. Nobody's coming over the southern border and taking us over now. Are there real issues that we need to solve? Yes. But the hyperbole by which it's being, the way that they lay it out is to me, you have to lay it out that way in order to justify the inhumane things you're about to do. And that's when we talk about like rounding people up, and maybe, for those Trump supporters that are here, I hope that Trump steps in and doesn't allow this to happen. I hope that Trump comes out today or tomorrow is like, hey, Tom Homan overstepped. But from everything I'm reading about Trump is that I saw this actually, it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders spoke at the RNC convention. And one of the things that she and many other people spoke about that I didn't really catch at the time is they said, like, Trump gives us the autonomy to do our job. I think that's the sign of a good leader. Honestly, I think a leader giving somebody autonomy is a good thing, but not if you give autonomy to a crazy person. And that's where I have questions about some of the judgment of these picks. I don't think Tom Homan is a very stable person. I've seen Tom Homan when he's pressed. I've seen Tom Homan when people make him a little bit stressed and he unravels. He's not a level-headed person here. We're putting somebody that's not level-headed, who's not telling the truth, in charge of immigration. So to my Republican friends, again, I just want you guys to stand with us. If he starts going after, if this starts to look like Gestapo, okay, if it at whatever point, just come with us. If this starts to look like they're just taking people's rights to deport immigrants just for the hell of it, Like, just stand with us. Yeah, Joe. It's giving Joe Arpaio vibes, 100%. In fact, I bet Joe Arpaio is the happiest guy in the world. Joe Arpaio woke up this morning, saw Tom Homan was going to be in charge, and like got his first erection in 30 years. This is probably the best day of Joe Arpaio's life.
And it's one of the reasons Kamala Harris lost and Donald Trump won. So Tom, you just mentioned deportations. I know during the last Trump.
Also, that doesn't seem to be true. Very little of the data tells me that the reason that Harris lost was on the border. I don't think it's a huge number.
Administration, when you were there, they did have
Kerry
the
lost.
large-scale worksite, essentially raids, where they would go into a place and there would be hundreds of people who were in the country illegally.
Yeah, I think he
know in
worked under
60
Bush. I
Minutes,
don't know if five
a couple of
administrations. I
weeks
think
ago,
this is
you
his
said
fourth
that those would continue
monster.
or under Donald Trump in the next
Might have worked in
administration.
the Clinton administration.
What do you have
I don't think
planned?
so.
Well, I know you don't want to give away the whole game book, but you do have deportations, mass workplace stuff planned. Any other kind of category of deportations of interest?
Look, as the president said on stage many times, which I agree with 100%, it's going to be the same it was during his first administration, which is just a hell of a lot more of them because 10 million people have entered this country illegally under the Biden administration, or they actually let it.
I've got concerns with that. This is the department. He's saying the thing. He's saying the thing. Like 10 million people didn't come here illegally under the Biden administration. That's just not a true stat. He has no evidence for that. That is a made up stat. And again, it concerns me. It concerns me. I don't know about the judgment in some of these picks. You know who's very happy about this pick, though? Not surprisingly, you know who's been very vocal? The Heritage Foundation. They've been very vocal that this is a good pick. Now, this stuff that Tom Homan is saying is straight out of Heritage Foundation. This is Heritage Foundation 101. This is their border policy. This is what they want.
Into this country, even though it's violation of federal law, what they've been doing, the abuse of the parole authority. But look, I've been clear, President Trump's been clear. Public safety threats and national security threats will be the priority because they have to be. They pose the most danger to this country. So we're going to prioritize those groups, those who always have final orders, those that had due process at great taxpayer expense, and the federal judge says you must go home, and they didn't. They became a fugitive. So, and as far as worksite operations have to happen. Here's why, Steve. Where do we find most victims of sex trafficking and forced labor trafficking? At work sites. And the Biden administration shut down work sites. On one point, we say,
is that true? Wait, what work sites are we talking about? What's he talking about there? Where do we find most? Does anybody know? Where do we find most sex trafficking victims? Now, you guys are talking about abuse victims. We're talking about trafficking here. And he said that they find them at work sites. We know what he's talking about. That's fucked up. Jesus. Whoever said in his basement, that's kind of fucked up. I don't know. Is there any average age of trafficking victims 12 to 14? Between 60 and 70% of trafficking victims are from the child welfare system. Oh, that's why you guys are saying that. That's where they come from. Okay. 60 to 70%. Okay. So when we talk about the 20 to 30,000 20,000 number that they say that's the there's at least 20,000 trafficked children under the age of 18, or not trafficked. I don't think I can use that word. I don't know what that word is. Victims of trafficking, not trafficking, of being so. I guess it's trafficking. If it's across state lines, it's trafficking. Okay, there we go. The average age is 13. 80% of these children are girls. 80% are sex slaves. Girls with a history of abuse are at much higher risk to be trafficked. 1 in 7 runaway children are reported as trafficking victims. The average lifespan of a non-rescued trafficking victim is 7 to 10 years. 3%. Okay, so here it is. 3% are trafficked by an employer. So he's not even close. Just hear this quote again. And again, not that everybody needs to know these numbers. I didn't know these numbers. He should know these numbers.
had due process at great taxpayer expense, and the federal judge says you must go home, and they didn't. They became a fugitive. So, and as far as worksite operations have to happen. Here's why, Steve. Where do we find most victims of sex trafficking and forced labor trafficking? At work sites. And
Yeah, it's just not true. It's just not true. 3%. When you say most and then the number's actually 3%, he's one of two things. He either is not educated enough on this issue to be running this program, or he's a liar. Right? It's one of those two things. He's either wrong, that he doesn't know the numbers, which he should definitely know, or he's lying. 3%. Yeah, somebody said massage parlor. Yeah, maybe. 45% are trafficked by a family member. 40% are trafficked by an intimate partner. So 85% of these have nothing to do with work, and also have nothing to do necessarily with like immigration. This isn't true. This is again, like, I'm sorry, but when the things that you're telling us about why you're going to go door to door and try and round up immigrants, when this proof that you're using to tell us that you need to do this is all lies, this is the shit we need to combat. This is the type of messaging we need to be able to combat. I don't know how to do it yet. I don't know if you guys know how to. Some of us don't know how to do it. I don't know anybody that knows how to do it. You know what I did see? I saw Hassan had on what's that big juice head turkey's name? Hassan figured out a way to like talk to a Republican for an hour and a half and do it in a way that that got that guy to at least like come back to the middle a little bit. Look, you guys say call it out. How's that working? Bradley Martin, thank you. How's that working? We called it out for 4 years. I don't get some of the shit that we've been doing as a party, as Democrats. I don't, frankly, maybe now is a good time to talk about it. But my messages, my inbox talking about Jeff, full inbox talking about Jeff. At some point, we've got to recognize that we lost for a reason. And that reason doesn't mean that you were wrong. That reason means that we didn't convince other people that we were right. We got to change that. And we can't just like destroy everybody who opposes us just a little bit. I got to say, like, I appreciate so many people who have reached out since the election, and so many people who've said, like, yeah, let's do this. But some of us need to take a real look in the mirror. If you're mad and you want to stay mad, fine. You can stay as mad as you want, but don't have us pretend like that worked. It didn't work last time. It's not going to work this time. Just make us feel a little bit better if we get to yell at people. Frankly, yeah, it's fun to talk shit. I did it for 2 years. I call people names. I played, and look, I understand that I also played by their rules. I understand they did it too, right? We did it, they did it, but they won. So theirs worked. So we got to figure out a way to change the game. I don't think we can change the game playing it that way. Because what are we going to do? Are we going to like start lying? Is that the plan? We're just going to lie about everything? Just put out get our own global misinformation networks together, start up bot farms and just make up lies. I don't think I would feel good. I honest to God don't think I would feel good if Harris was in office right now today and we looked back and we're like, we got away with a lot of lies. And I think that there are people in the Republican Party or people that voted for Republicans who feel that way right now. And there's going to be more people that feel that way. Like, what do you think is going to happen when RFK, let's just say RFK can't get his agenda done, which I don't think he can. I don't think there's any way, and I don't think Trump's going to help him. You think those voters are just going to fall in line? If we just keep hammering, if you go to those voters and you're like, told you so, should have listened to us, yeah, probably not going to work. But if we went to those voters and said, look, over here, we're trying to, these things RFK was doing, some of those things, the ones that aren't crazy, we're trying those over here. Let's see if we can find like a bridge there. Because there's plenty of people who joined late. But either way, I just want to. I think America can be a better country, and I think we can do that with even if Republicans get control of all three houses and the Supreme Court. I still think there's ways that we can influence the country to try and get people to not support something crazy. Anyways, we'll keep going. Speaking of, oh, let me read messages too. I know some came in, just going so slow. Bree, goddamn. I don't know who hasn't had an erection in 30 years, but call me if you need me. No need to be so hard. I think maybe they need to call you if they the opposite problem. I know RTP stands for Ride the Pine, so when do I get to ride yours? I have a lot of experience riding things like horses or pine. You should not ride pine. That is not a good idea. You get slivers. Terry said, can we start a GoFundMe for women's bail bond? I think we're going to need it. You sure can. It's crazy. I don't know if you're right or wrong. I think that's the worst part about that. I have no idea if that's going to happen or not, but it's certainly possible. All right, I got that one. Who's in the box here? My lies are better than yours. Oh, congratulations. Are they gone? My lies are better than yours. Gone. All right, Tom Homan. Back to Tom Homan.
And the Biden administration shut down work sites. On one point, they say we care about sex trafficking and human trafficking. Then they shut down worksite enforcement, which is one of the main areas we find the victims of this. I want to add one more thing, another priority. This administration has lost over 300,000 children that were smuggled in this country by criminal cartels they can't find. That's another priority. We need to save these children because some of these children are in forced labor, some of these children are in sex trafficking, some of these children are living a life of hell every day. And we need to save these children and get them back with their families.
You know, Tom, first of all, congratulations to you. And
so why don't they just go in, shouldn't first step be going into Tyson Foods and all of these food manufacturing places that the factory farming places? Why is first step go door to door? Why is first step not go in and raid these places and arrest the owners of the companies who trafficked labor? Why is that not day one? You want to stop trafficking of labor? Go after the owners. Why are we always going after the worker? If you just think about it, if you're somebody who was going to come here and work here, or you were going to send people here to work here, and you know that 1% of the time you get caught and you may go to jail or you may get deported, it's still worth the risk. It's absolutely worth the risk. But if you're a business owner and you have Tyson Chicken and you're out there trying to you have margins that you got to protect, and you get raided and they take half your workforce and then they throw you in jail, the next person's gonna be like, fuck, do I want to go to jail and then also bankrupt the company? Probably not. Probably not. Our inability to recognize that this is uniquely an American problem. The drug problem is uniquely American. The trafficking stuff is uniquely American. And when I mean uniquely American, I mean it's our fault for the people here. Not that it doesn't happen in other countries, but it's our fault. We're the ones that want the illicit substances. We're the ones that want the trafficked labor. We're the ones that want the trafficking victims. We are. But every time we have an election, we turn the camera around at a bunch of brown people and they're like, you're the problem. Why are they the ones suffering? Why do people coming to the southern border, why are they the ones? They're trying to make their life better. These CEOs that are hiring this labor, they're trying to make their life a little bit easier. They're trying to make a few more dollars. But in America, it's capitalism is fine. But coming to our country, seeking a better life, that's suddenly not okay. But as long you can break the law as long as it's for capitalism. That's what I'd love to see from Homan. He brought it up 3 different times. 3 different times he brought up the workforce, and then he's like, so we got to go in there and do ICE raids and get rid of the workers. Oh. They'll just replace them because you didn't do anything to the owner. You're just going to replace the workers. You're going to have the same problem.
So glad for the Border Patrol that morale is already being lifted. They have just been beaten down by the policies of this last administration. I'm really encouraged by what you're saying because I think the toughest part of your job isn't the deportation. It's dealing with the propaganda from the other side saying that what you're doing is not compassionate, that it's.
Yeah, Bertie, I agree. I don't see any evidence of the 300,000 missing children from here. The number goes back from during the Trump administration, but it's not even that they're lost. It's that we don't have paperwork on all of them. Like a lot of them are fine. It's just that we've lost contact with them, or the paperwork is missing. It's a us problem. It's our inability to have a system that makes any sense problem.
It's not humanitarian. And what do you plan to do? I'm glad you mentioned the 300,000 children that are missing. But how are you going to deal with
Also,
those?
I think, again, not missing. But if we're talking about trafficking, that number is like 30,000, 20,000. So it's not even close. If we're talking about actual children and being trafficked, 20,000 is the number.
Kinds of attacks, even though you know that this open border has led to sex trafficking of children and an exponential increase of child labor, illegal child labor.
Frankly, I don't care what people think about me, especially on the left. Now, again, when you have a historic crisis, a crisis this big, here's what they need to know. When you have a crisis this big that overwhelms the Border Patrol, where the majority of Border Patrol are no longer on patrol, they're making sandwiches, they're changing diapers, they're making baby formula, they're making hospital runs, they're making airport runs. When you take most of Border Patrol agents off the border to deal with humanitarian crisis, that's when the fentanyl comes across to kill 250,000 Americans. That's when the sex trafficking has increased 600%. That's when non-suspected terrorists has crossed this country. They've had a record of people on terrorist watch lists that have been arrested at the southern border. That's why you have over 2 million gotaways. How many of them came from a country sponsoring terror? So I don't care what anybody.
Like, he doesn't have answers to these questions. I'm done with this video, but he doesn't have answers. It's like he's campaigning. I think maybe that just goes to show he's not sure yet, but this is all campaign rhetoric. I would love to hear what his plan is. He's just like, there's all these problems. I'm going to deport people, and that doesn't fix any of these problems. Like he's not going after the core root of any of these problems. Not at all. So, 0 for 1. Just so that I show that, just trying to be fair. They also named Elise Stefanik to be ambassador to the UN. I'm not afraid of that. I don't think she's any good, but I'm not afraid of that. And I understand why she's the ambassador to the UN, because she is in line with what Trump wants, and Trump wants his ambassador to the UN to be in line with him. That's what he demands. It's what he told you guys he wanted, so I can understand MAGA not being upset about that. I'm fine. I'll leave Elise Stefanik for now. But Tom Homan, Republicans, I just want you to talk to me about Tom Homan. I want to figure out why this is a good idea. Let me check messages real quick. I see Diddy and Diddy Trump. Jesus. Leanne says, I'm glad you're back. Thank you, Leanne. Appreciate it. And then I'll update the number here in just a second. And Christine says, thank you for the real discussion. You bet. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Look, it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. And it's going to be uncomfortable for you guys because I'm going to overlook some things sometimes to move the conversation on. And so I apologize in advance. But I do appreciate the chat being engaged. And I appreciate the chat arguing with me, too. I appreciate you guys correcting me. Let's go. Let's see. Dougie, will you message Jen back? What's up, Diddy?
What's up, you fat loser? It's Matt.
Huh?
Well, buddy. Look who it is.
Who is this?
You know who it is, buddy. I'm better than you at golf.
Oh, Matt. Hi, Matt. Is that? I didn't hear you say. I think you said Mac. I'm like, who the fuck is Mac?
It's nice to be back.
Sure.
It is nice to be in your presence.
You're welcome.
I just want to know where my $1,000 is.
You just got to send me. There's the Venmo right up. Well, it's next to my name. There's Venmo and Cash App. Just send me a request, $10 a week, and we'll do it 10 by 10.
You just can't pay it in full, or what's
No, I
the deal?
can't. I talked to Jen about this actually. On election night, I actually moved money in an account over to PayPal because I was going to give you my PayPal. But then I swear to God, I just thought it would be funnier if I made you ask for it $10 a week at a time. So it's actually, I could even show you a screenshot. I could show you where it is. But I just thought it would
I'm
be
just
funnier.
kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not an illegal immigrant. I don't accept money, so I don't need to get paid like an illegal. And Tom Homan,
hold on, you don't get
he's
paid
in for a rude awakening.
You don't get paid for your job?
Excuse me?
You don't get paid?
No, I'm just saying I'm not an illegal immigrant. I don't want to take your money that you need.
Oh, you said paid. I was confused by that.
So Tom Homan, we all know he's the fucking boss. I mean, you saw his interview on 60 Minutes. We'll deport families together. Real simple.
Yeah. Look, I'm not surprised that you agree with that.
He's a baller. You don't put up with no shit.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that you agree with that at all. I mean, look, I think people should be treated humanely and kindly. I think you don't really care that much. That's fine.
I mean, I could tell you how it's going to be most cost efficiency to send these people back.
I think he said like 800 billion is what it would cost.
Well, I'm just saying, why don't we just use the money that we brought them here with? Airplane tickets we brought them here with.
You think we spent $800 billion bringing people to America?
But we paid for their jet fuel to come from another country to come here, right?
So what do you think? How much do you think that was?
I'm just saying, why don't we just use that money and reverse it?
I'm trying to figure out how much that is, and let's figure out what we can do with that amount of money. How much money did we spend bringing asylum seekers here?
I have no idea.
I'm just guessing by the amount of flights. I'm gonna guess that maybe a few $1 million. That might not do it. That might not put a dent in it. What are you gonna? How are you gonna pull this off with a couple $1 million?
Well, same question. Let's see that. Well, the interview lady couldn't answer the question. Let's see if you could answer it. What price would you put on national security?
Who's the interview lady? I don't know what you're talking about.
What price would you put on national security?
I don't think you can put a price on national security.
Okay, then. So why is this a money issue?
I don't think this is an issue. I don't think it's a national security issue. I think we've got much bigger.
Of illegal immigrants in here.
I disagree that. I disagree that this is like our biggest issue. But I also don't think that deporting people fixes it. If it's a security issue, if we're legitimately just worried about people that are here that are like from T cells, we're not finding them. You'll never find them. Doesn't matter. What are they going to do? Come forward and be like, "Oh, you caught us."
We just did find them.
What you'll
last week we did.
What we did. I know. Yeah, they'll find.
Last week we just found an Iranian group.
Hold on. ICE won't find them, right? Like the FBI is already finds them. So again, deporting a bunch of people who are here illegally, that's not going to fix the problem that you're talking about. That's gonna just destroy our economy. If you pull this off, you understand if we did this, we'd lose 10% of our GDP and we'd hit a depression, like between a recession and depression. It would devastate our economy. You know that, right?
No, Trump said he's not going to deport working class families. No. Criminals.
No. Well, Tom Homan says everybody who's here illegally. He said 20 million people. So I'm only taking issue with what Tom Homan.
Who would I trust?
I'm just taking issue with what Tom Homan says. If Trump steps in and says, "Homan, that's not right. We're not doing that." Great. I hope he does. So I'm just taking Homan on face value. Trump hasn't responded to this yet. If Trump wants to step in and say he's not doing that, I think that would be terrific. But right now, I'm just going off of what Homan said.
I would disagree.
You would disagree? I'm playing the video. What are you talking about?
No, I would disagree with him. I agree with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. So if Homan goes forward, so if they were to go forward and they said we're going to, everybody who's here illegally is going to get deported, even if they work, even if they have family, they're getting deported, then you would disagree, right?
Yeah.
Cool. That's all we're asking for. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Tom Homan he can't do whatever the fuck he wants. But what he's saying, if he's allowed to do, I've got a problem with.
Yeah, I don't think Trump supports that.
Yeah, I hope not. But I've made a goal to not make everything about Trump this election. So I'm just gonna go word for word. But if Trump and I'm gonna play. I'm doing that because I want to be fair, and I'm gonna hold Trump to that same standard. If somebody in Trump's administration is doing something and he doesn't step in to stop it, then I think once it's done, we can assume he was okay with it. And if he steps in to stop it, great. Let's give him credit for that.
So I haven't talked to you in a long time. How come this was such a brutal landslide?
It's not that big of a landslide, to be honest. I think I saw it's like the 50th biggest margin of victory or something. It's not. It's not huge.
And where did those 18 million votes go that Biden had that Kamal can't find?
You haven't updated your numbers yet. You got to update those numbers, dude.
Oh, excuse me, 13.
Well, it was 20, then it was 18. Do you know why it's 13 now?
Because it seems like Arizona can't figure out how to do elections. I mean, we're already 6 days past, and they only have 70-something% of the vote in.
Well, that's true. I will tell you, as somebody who lives in Arizona, and who it's mostly Maricopa County that's behind. That is a group of people. It's largely run by Republicans, and in the primaries, Republicans picked up a lot of they picked up a lot of seats, and they have done everything to undermine our ability to count elections quickly. They put so much shit in there because they were so convinced it was stolen last time that they've added all these provisions and all these safeguards that fix literally nothing. So yeah, don't be surprised that the state that has literally, yet like 2 days ago, they ruled that Carrie Lake didn't win her campaign for governor. Like,
yeah, she's a loser.
Yeah, but
She's
no,
a loser.
for governor. She was running for Senate. She ran for governor in 2020. It took till now for the courts to be like, no, you didn't win.
And it's kind of ironic that every state that Kamala Harris won, except 2, have voter ID laws. That's kind of weird.
I looked that up. That's not true.
That is true.
It's
only
not.
2 of them.
So
only 2 states have voter ID laws.
every state has a voter ID law. You're talking
No,
about
they don't.
showing a photo ID. Yeah, they do.
No, not in
Yes.
California you don't. Not in California. It's illegal.
No, you're mixing up voter ID and photo ID.
Yeah. Photo ID.
Yeah, photo ID. There's only a few states that have like a photo ID requirement. I looked this up yesterday.
Yeah, and out of all the states you won, only 2 of them have photo ID. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, but no, I don't think it's weird at all.
Oh, it's not weird.
Well, what's weird about it?
That the Democrats don't want photo ID, but it happens that she wins every state.
And the
That
Republicans
does not have photo ID.
Wait, but the Republicans win all the states that do have voter ID.
Correct.
Do you ever think about why?
Because we like to know who's voting in our state.
Okay. Fair enough.
We don't want cheating going
fair
on.
enough. Do you also recognize that voter ID makes it really a lot more difficult for some people to vote?
Oh, they're racist. I forgot.
No. Do you understand? No, this would apply to poor people. It would. Listen, let me help you out. Like, if you, let's just say that you are poor, or you live.
Do you know anyone
Can
who
I
doesn't
finish?
have an ID?
Yes, so many people.
Who?
Lots of people that work in my state.
Like who though?
I'm not. What do you want me to name names? We don't know the same people.
No, I'm just saying like
I have
they
a
must not have a
I have a
bank.
good friend who I've known for 10 years now that does not have a valid photo ID and hasn't for a very long time.
So he doesn't have a bank account.
He does have a bank account.
Oh, did he just scam the bank?
No,
Or
he opened the bank account when he had an ID, but some banks will allow different IDs. Like, you don't need necessarily a state issued ID. For example, in a lot of these states, like, you can just show proof of residency. So you can show, in fact, most states, you can show like an electric bill, you can show a birth certificate, a social security card, a passport.
Yeah, and then they
I
give
guess
you
that'd
an
be a photo
ID.
ID. But yeah, there's lots of different ones. But in every one of these states, you had to prove who you were when you registered to vote. Every one of them. You can't register to vote without documentation. So if you can't register to vote without documentation, I'm not really worried about having a photo ID on election day, unless at some point somebody showed me that there was a massive amount of people going and voting for somebody in place of somebody else. I've never seen any evidence of that happening, ever. Have you?
Multiple evidence, 2020.
That's just a year, dude. That's not evidence. That's just a year.
2020 election.
I don't know of a single, even in my state,
We all know
not
there's
one
2020
accusation of somebody going to the polls and voting under somebody else's name. I don't know of one.
Just like I don't know anyone who doesn't have an ID. I mean, that's insane.
I mean, you know lots of people without an ID. You
I
live in
don't.
Florida?
I don't know one person.
Live in Florida?
Yeah,
Okay. And so, college students? You don't know any college students?
I know plenty of college students.
They all have Florida IDs?
They all have IDs and
Do
school
they have
IDs.
Florida IDs?
What?
Do they have Florida IDs?
I don't know.
Yeah, if you
Wherever they're from.
Just my experience in college, most people didn't change their ID that came to college from out of state.
I mean, it's easier to get a fake ID than a fucking real ID.
Maybe that's part of the problem then. Maybe we make it easier to get ID. Maybe what if everybody could get ID? Let me ask you this: what if the U.S. government rolled out a program and said,
Go to the DMV.
Let me explain. That wasn't the end of it. What if the federal government rolled out a program and said, hey, this is a website. It's also an app, or you can go down to your local city office, and if you fill this out, you can take a picture of yourself. Just provide documentation that a birth certificate
exactly
or same
what
thing
we
you have
do.
to do to register to vote, and then the government mails you an ID. But you can do it without going to the DMV and waiting in lines. Would you be in support of that?
That's exactly what I did to Florida. I got my ID mailed.
Yeah, but you right. But I'm just saying, if the government came out and said
There
here's
is a program that has that.
no, a lot of places there's not.
I'm telling you, there are programs that have that.
I understand that, but there's a lot of places that don't. So
And
that's
you don't
why,
have to get a
that's why I'm
driver's
bringing up
license
the
either.
federal government. So if the federal government provided IDs for everybody at no cost, would you support that?
At no cost, sure. I mean, the government's greedy.
Then we get on. I'm on board with you. I agree. If we want to do voter IDs, if we want to demand voter IDs, we need to make it very easy and free for people to get an ID to vote. We can't tax people. We can't charge people for the right to vote.
Oh, so it's voter suppression.
Oh, it's 100% voter suppression. I don't know why you would even argue this at this point.
A $5 ID. Voter
$5 in what state?
Here, where I live.
Well, it's like $45 here. Plus, you have to go to the DMV, which where I live, it's at least a 20-minute drive
So you
to
gotta take public
the closest DMV. Then you got to wait in line, and a lot of people just frankly aren't that politically active. So they're like, I want to vote, but fuck, I'm not going to sit at the DMV for an hour. Like, we have to be honest. There's millions of Americans. I mean, I don't know how many. There's lots of people who don't want to go to the DMV and who would choose to sit out rather than go to the DMV.
I can guarantee you every single person in this chat right now has an ID.
I don't care.
100%.
I understand that most people have ID. This is not an issue. It's not an issue with voting. It's not an issue at all. But it is an act of voter suppression to enact these types of laws. It's been ruled multiple times in multiple courts. I don't think you could make a good argument that it's not an act of voter suppression. It certainly is. Even if you want to argue that Republicans don't do it because they don't want those people to vote, even if you say Republicans don't know that it's voter suppression, I don't care. It actively is voter suppression. So I'm not trying to cast aspersions and say why you guys are doing it. Now I can tell you what the data told me when I was a Republican. I can tell you what we talked about when we talked about voter ID laws. I can tell you that we were that at least back then we were very aware of who voter ID laws affected. I knew that.
It's racist.
I think it was racist. Yeah, I think I was being racist.
You're implying that black people, Hispanic people don't have the capability of getting an ID.
I'm implying that poor people or people who are disengaged, they're arguing two things. Some people don't want to pay. Excuse me. Thank you. Some people don't have the money for it. Some people aren't engaged for it. But that comes largely. Look, you can call it racism. You can call it not racism. The data speaks for itself. We know who it disproportionately affects. And I don't care. I'm not trying to say what your motive is or what Republicans' motives are, but the outcome is that it affects poor people.
I don't do it.
And I don't think you guys worry very much about poor people, frankly. I think that the middle class and the poor see what Republicans have to offer, and they see a bunch of wealth, and they're like, oh, it must be because of their principles. But I think in practice, I don't think Republicans do a good job helping poor people or thinking about poor people at all. Do you?
Oh, even though most of the lower middle class.
Do you think they help poor people?
Going off the recent statistics in the 2024 election.
Elections don't mean anything, right? I want to know about policies that Republicans put in place that actually made, statistically made life better for poor people. Do you know? There probably is some. I can't think of any offhand, but do you know of any?
We saw it for 4 years under Trump.
Do you know of any?
No, any what?
Of any laws during. Yeah. So let's talk about Trump's years then. Who benefited the most under those years? Whose lives got, like, if you look at measuring like your ability to like purchasing power, net worth, wages, quality of life, affordability of housing, who was hurt the most during the Trump administration? Who was helped the most?
I would say the lower middle class
Was hurt the most, right?
was helped the most.
Have you looked at the data? Because the data doesn't say that. The data says that those tax cuts overwhelmingly went to the rich. Like all the benefits overwhelmingly went to the rich. Wages didn't keep up with inflation during Trump's time in office.
But the data says over 50% of the lower middle class voted for Trump in 2024.
That has nothing to do with policies. That has to do with how people feel. I'm not interested in people's votes. I'm interested in what happened. What happens to these policies, and I'm interested in finding common ground. I'm interested in talking about policies that we can go forward that maybe we can get some agreement on with Republicans and Democrats. I think Republicans and Democrats, including you, I think we all agree that poor people and middle class people need a break, and I think that both of us think that that's what we need to do. We need to help with that. So we have to look. So instead of doing Trump versus Biden or Republican versus Democrat, we got to look at policies and decide on the policy. Will this help or will it not help?
It's not a policy issue.
It is a policy issue, dude.
Because we all know the Inflation Reduction Act had nothing to do with lowering inflation for the lower middle class. Why did inflation go down? It had nothing to do with it.
Why did it go down?
Hold on. It had nothing to do with it. We heard it from the own
Why did it go down?
Hold on. I'm going to tell you. It's you keep thinking Trump does not pass policy.
I'm asking you a question. That's not an answer to my question. Why did inflation go down?
Inflation has been going down since 2020.
No.
I mean, the Fed's cut rates.
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't.
Well, that's true. That's not true.
Inflation's been dropping since 2020. So you think inflation is lower than Trump was in office in 2020. So you would say since then it's been dropping?
No, I misspoke.
Okay, when was the Inflation Reduction Act put into place?
Because Biden inherited 1.2 inflation and then he got all the way to 9.
But when was the Inflation Reduction Act put into place?
I think around early or late 2022.
It was in 2022. It basically went into law January of 2023, right? Most of it. Yeah. And what happened in 2023 to inflation?
Inflation was going down.
I just feel like this is one of those places that post election we should probably be able to agree. I understand that the Inflation Reduction Act, that there are people who say like some of this is inflationary. Some people like it's not an Inflation Reduction Act. It's a spending bill. But it did bring down inflation. So it did work.
I know, but when you talk about Trump, you always talk about policy. I mean, Trump. I mean, we saw it for 4 years. Trump barely passed any policy and still had the greatest economy in American history.
And now that we're past the election, we're past talking points. I just want you to know, and you can Google this. There's not a single economist in the world that thinks that was the greatest economy in the history of our country. It just wasn't. It just simply wasn't.
That said he would tank the economy after he brought it to where
I don't know. Maybe some of them did say that, but still, the thing is like you're talking about prognosticating versus analyzing. Analyzing is a lot easier because you have all the data. Prognosticating is difficult because you're making guesses. So I'm talking about people who have reviewed the data and say, and look, just nobody agrees with that, and I don't think you actually agree with that. I think that's silly to think that you agree with that. The amount of money saved by the average American went down during his administration. Wages didn't keep up with inflation during his administration. The cost of housing skyrocketed during his administration. The only thing that he got a little bit of the benefit. He got a little bit of the benefit from COVID because it dropped so low. Like some prices dropped so low that you guys are able to go use his COVID numbers. But if you look at the numbers pre-COVID, he was underperforming Obama. Were prices cheaper under Obama than Trump? Certainly.
We all know Trump had the better economy. We all know that.
Then who?
And then Biden. We
Well, of
all know
course.
that.
Yeah, of course. Everybody, yeah, of course. But Trump inherited a
for
booming.
years. You
Trump,
weren't saying
no,
that.
no. I've been steady on this argument. Trump inherited a booming economy. Biden inherited an economy and a country in shambles. If we're going to be honest, Matt, you've got to compare what the two inherited. A very different inheritance.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's not
But
that
then when
hard.
you turn your back and spend billions and trillions of dollars on foreign wars, on
That was
illegal
Republicans
immigrants,
and Democrats.
I mean,
bud.
New York already discredited their rollout program for whatever they give out, EBT cards to illegal immigrants. That's done.
Yeah, I think that I think that we're gonna figure out why pretty soon.
We all know why.
Why?
Oh, well, first off, Mayor Adams is pretty innocent. He absolutely
He is
did nothing.
innocent.
He rode on a few plane rides.
You guys only say that because he's doing stuff for Trump now.
He rode on a few plane rides in first class. Boo hoo.
Free.
Oh yeah.
But
I
first
mean,
of all,
it's
that's
such a joke.
like, do you really?
and you
that's
know
not,
why he
that's
was.
not, Matt. That's not all of it. If you're gonna tell the whole
But you
story,
know why he
tell all,
was.
Matt, please stop. If you're
But
gonna
I
tell
don't know why.
Matt, please stop. If you're gonna tell the whole, if you're gonna tell the story, would you mind maybe this? Look, you guys in power. You can stop lying about shit. Tell the whole story. What were his charges? Do you know? You think his charges were a couple of flights that he didn't pay for?
Sure.
Oh, well, you're wrong.
We
Go
all
look
know
it
why
up.
he
Let's
got
talk
those
about
charges.
something that you know about, because you don't seem to know this
We
one.
know why he got those
No,
charges.
let's
too.
talk about something
'Cause
else.
He was
Matt,
speaking out against
one
illegal
of my
immigrants.
things that I'm going to do this time around is I'm not going to have long discussions with people who haven't done the research to figure it out. You can go look, and when you come back and you can tell me what Eric Adams' charges actually are, we can have a debate about it. But I'm not debating with you when you don't know what the charges are.
I mean, we all know the charges.
No,
Phony.
you don't know the charges.
You spoke out against illegal immigrants, and then they
No,
say,
that's not the
"Oh,
charges. That's not
you
the
say
charges.
you want to get
That's
out of
not
line?"
the charges. That's not the
That's
charges.
exactly
I told
what
you
the
we're not
charges are.
talking about this until you know what the charges are.
You spoke out of line, and they said, "Nope, you can't
Yeah,
do that."
that's not the charges, Matt. What's the next thing you want to talk about? And if you don't want to go to the next thing, then I'll just disconnect you. But I'm not going to argue with
That's
shit you don't
crazy.
know. You really don't know.
That's crazy.
Well, you don't know. That investigation started a year and a half ago, long before any of this other stuff happened. So they just knew that Eric Adams was going to speak out against immigration a year and a half ago, and then they're like, "We know that this is coming, so we're gonna start this investigation."
That's crazy.
Is that what you think happened?
And pray for
Wait,
Letitia
excuse me,
James.
excuse me.
That
The question I
badass.
asked. The question I asked, Matt, and listen, you can't.
No, I
you're-
stand by
and
my
the question
comments.
I'm asking, Matt, and last chance. I'm done with your trolling.
I stand by my
I'm
comments.
done with your trolling. This is your last chance to shut up while I'm talking. Okay? You can be block on site, or you can continue to have access to this platform. It's up to you. But I'm not dealing with troll Matt for the next however many years. You've got to start being a big boy. You've got to start talking like a big boy, and you've got to stop being a fucking internet troll because you're in college. Your golf
Not a
swing is dog shit. But it's time for you to get better. It's time for you to get better with your arguments. It's time for you to get better at golf. But like, I'm not doing trolling shit anymore. So you can come up and have real discussions, Matt. I'm inviting you to have real discussions. But I'm not going to do this shit where in the middle of every discussion you move the goalpost for your little troll shit.
This is not a troll. We all know why he got indicted. He was speaking out against illegal immigrants.
Have a good day. Appreciate it. Give him a shot. All right. Block that account, will you, Jen? Appreciate it. Or just keep track of it so we know when it comes back in. Matt, when you're ready to be a big boy, you can come back, okay? 12:42. Shit, time has flown today. Let me get through these. Oh, shit, I didn't update the goal. I'll update the goal here in just a second, too. Andrea said, let me get you, Jen. Andrea says, can you ask MAGA how illegal immigration has affected them personally? I'm not scared of immigrants. I'm scared my kids will be unalived at school in a mass shooting. My kids' high school just had the second child unalive themselves for the year. Jesus. Have a well-deserved vacation, Jay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. 300,000 people in North Carolina. Oh, sorry. Let me read these in order, Scott. Hey, Jay, what's your thought on 300,000 people that only voted for president and only voted for Trump, didn't vote for a single other person down ballot? Weird. I don't know what those numbers are normally, but every year there's hundreds of thousands of ballots like that. There's a lot of people that don't give a fuck about anything other than president. I don't know if that's abnormal in North Carolina. I don't know what it was last time, but I don't think that wouldn't lead me to believe some sort of conspiracy. Cameron says, "Have fun in Mexico. Hope your tooth thing gets figured out. Don't want to risk getting cut during our next steamy makeout sesh." Look, if you can get to the back, if you can get to that tooth, never mind. Fuck. What? Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Didn't we block Matt for being a white supremacist? I don't remember why we blocked Matt. Why did we block Matt before, Jen?
Not gonna say it on live.
Okay. Gotcha. Toby says, "Oh, that was Toby." Let me see if I got this one. My phone is moving so slow. Bree says, "I know we don't have border czars, but I'd make you the czar of my southern border every time." I'm gonna do remain in Mexico on her border. Take that. That's payback. Christine, I read that one. Law says, "Thanks for having me up." Thank you, Law. Appreciate it. That was super helpful, actually. I was trying to Google in the middle of that conversation. Tony says, "I can't sing Kumbaya with these people. Sorry." I hear you, Tony. I hear you. Not everybody's along for this ride. That's fine. I still like you, Tony, and I appreciate you. All right, Jen, go ahead.
So, are we ending in 15 minutes? Like,
we can run over a little bit.
okay. Well, so, did you do the math? Do the math.
Sorry, I'm doing it.
See what I have to deal with, chat? This is like an everyday
But
thing.
I'm
So it's like if I don't
fun.
come up here, and let myself up, then he'll forget, or
That's
he.
true.
So
It's true. All right, all right. I did the math. I'm
Did
updating
math.
it now.
okay. So we've got 15-ish minutes. There's 1K people in here. If we all sent $1, we could get this goal knocked out. More than that. So if you could, you see the Venmo, Cash App, whatever it is.
Don't
Don't forget to send a message that.
Can I interrupt
Yep.
real fast?
Yep.
Every dollar that comes in from now until when we end the live goes directly to Jen. I am going on vacation, and so there will be virtually no income, and so Jen won't have any income for, let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, for like 5 or 6 days. So every dollar that comes in from now until the end of the live is going to go directly to help Jen, and her daughter's adorable, and they deserve to eat and not starve during these next couple days. So there's a PayPal link in my bio as well. So there we go. All right, go ahead, Jen.
Well, so don't forget when you send your message to send something that will turn his face red, and he hides his face in his hands and his hat. So make sure you include that, because that really makes me happy.
I just extend an olive branch to Jen, and
I know.
she just smacks me in the face with it.
You act like this is new news. You act
Good
like
point.
this is different information.
Amber says W, Jen. Thank you, Amber.
So you guys, I know you guys can do it. You're amazing. If you haven't subscribed to us over on YouTube, please go over and do so. That helps as well. We've got Discord. If you want to message any mod, we can get you an invite over there. And also we have merch. We've got some Soy Boy candles that are pretty cool. If you haven't seen,
Have you smelt them yet? I haven't smelt that one.
I have not.
Okay. Bree says, not everyone is along for the ride, but I'm along for your ride. Thank you. This is going to be the rest of the show. You said you knew the groups Matt was associated with. Oh, is that why you said you couldn't say it on?
Yes, that's what it was. that was an embellishment.
All right, listen, I'll be honest. I made all that shit up with
I know.
Matt. I told Jen that, I think, the day of. She's like, wait, tell me who it was. I was like, oh, I made it up because I wanted to see Matt's reaction. Because I have this sneaking suspicion he is part of a group. And I think he did kind of confirm it, but I absolutely made that up. I don't know anything about it. I forgot to tell you guys that. But
he totally, and that's why I said I didn't want to say it on live. So, but yeah, that's why. That's what it was.
So I apologize for lying to you. I forgot to correct that later on. So that was all just a lie. I think I did that. Janice said just because. Thank you, Janice. Jesus, they're coming in hot now. Rachel says love for Jen. Oh, why don't we make Jen put her face on camera and you see if your face goes red when people say that you love them?
I don't. This kind of stuff doesn't embarrass me.
Yeah,
Do you really think this would embarrass me?
Okay. We love for Jen, the queen from Lorraine. Rachel said she loves you. Why don't you say it back, Jen? Why don't you tell Rachel you love her back?
I like people a lot.
Rebecca says W, Jen, but just love is fine. Jesus Christ, guys, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this. This is you guys are being very kind. Thank you so much. Bree says you want to extend your olive branch and smack me in the
face. Bree's my favorite.
Jessica says love to Jen. Joe says love you, man. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Joanna said it was just a dollar emoji. I think. Please tell me I got all these. This is hard to keep track, guys. I'm sorry if I'm missing any of these. I think I got them. Let me go to Cash App now. That was Venmo. If I missed you on Venmo, let Jen know. Michael says Heretic is 2 Mormon girls in Utah. Great movie. I think I'm going to try and watch it. I doubt we can get it in Mexico, but maybe when I get back. Donovan says, thank you, Jen, for all you do. Kathleen says, for Jen, you vacationing bastard. Thank you. Lisa said, what happened to Jeff? We can talk about that if you want. I don't mind. I'll answer it in a second. Nancy says, love the show. Thank you, Nancy. Kieran says, for dealing with Matt's gross mouth sounds. Wise, yes.
Doesn't he always smack when he's in there?
The movie's called Heretic. Wise says, thank you for being a great mod, Jen. Oh, she's so much more than a mod. She runs my whole life. Carol says, Jen, have a great vacation. Oh, yeah, I guess this is a vacation. Maybe your vacation's just as good because you don't have to talk to me. Christopher says, I love you, Jen. Now say it back.
Love you, Christopher.
Oof. Anyone seen Bree and Sal in the same room? Is this Law?
No.
It's a fair question, Law. That is a very fair question. Mandy says, Jen sucks and you smell. Have a great summer. But she did
Awesome. I
hacks.
appreciate that. That's great.
Kenneth, thank you very much. Jeez, I missed it. Toby says, RTP can turn my cheeks red. I'm not talking about the ones on my face. Yeah, we got that. We got that. Shut up. Sarah says, Jen's vacay from your shenanigans. Absolutely. This is a good deal for Jen. Debbie said, girls got to eat pizza. I agree. Everybody's got to eat pizza. Everybody should eat pizza. Thomas, Jen should host while you're out on vacation. Jen, what do you think about that?
Nah.
You can just host a panel. She knows all the logins. I didn't be able to stop any of it.
I could be like alternate RTP.
This is Matt from Matt to Jen from not schmatzy Matt. This is a different Matt. Appreciate that. Mickey said something you have in common with universal health care. I want you taking care of every part of me. Thanks. Thanks, Mickey.
See, that's the hat thing I'm talking about. Good job.
Guys, these are rolling in. I can't even keep up. God, you guys like Jen a lot. Thank you.
Law said he's going to do it right in the
Today's
oak.
Veterans Day. How did I forget that? Happy Veterans Day to all that have served. Thank you. Good reminder, Amber. Thank you, all our veterans. I forgot today was a holiday. I should have realized when my kid was still here. Haley says, spoiler, I'm the vacation you'll be on. That is news to me. That is absolutely news to me.
You're going to be busy and dehydrated on this vacation, it sounds like.
Yeah. Luckily, it's actually you don't want to drink the water in Mexico. I'll have to pick up some bottled waters. Wasn't me says you're invited for dinner. You can come in the back door. Jesus. Wasn't me. He's usually clean. I wasn't ready for that.
That's great.
Cameron says for alt RTP. What's alt RTP? Like alt right? Is that who I am now? Am I alt RTP? Is that my new direction? Jennifer says from one gen to another. That's adorable. I love that, guys. Did I get everything? These just keep coming in. They like you, Jen. I don't know why.
I don't either. I mean, I'm kind of a jerk in most places, so it's
Fuentes missed or masked and kicked a lady down the stairs. Did Nick Fuentes kick somebody down the stairs?
Well, he's been having people. You know, he got doxxed, right?
Yeah, I did see that.
So that people have been showing up at probably his mom's house. I think it is.
Oh.
And I think I saw a video or saw something where like someone showed up at the door and he opened it and pepper sprayed them.
Oh, masked reported. That's what he meant. Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't go to. I mean, fuck that guy. But he's gonna get away with it. If you show up at his house, he probably can get away with some shit. Letitia says from Mariposa, enjoy your vacation. Thank you. That boot says for the sexy Jen. Love you. Do something with that, Jen.
I have no idea.
How do you really don't.
Some people do have one of those types of, things where they like to be yelled at. That is a whole thing on, those
Do you want
special
to? You can
sites.
use the account to yell at people if you want.
I mean, it's true.
Jack says thanks for the shout out for the veterans. Marine Corps birthday was yesterday. Semper Fi and much love to Jen. Thank you, Jack. Thanks for your service. I didn't know it was Marine Corps birthday yesterday. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Jen?
I did not know that.
All right. Well, that's
Did not know
Jen's
that.
supposed to let me know about holidays. She blew it on all of this.
I that wasn't on my to-do list. I guess I'll have to add that now. I mean, another thing, I guess.
Bree says, speaking of heretics, let's do unspeakable things to really make you a disgraced Mormon. I don't know how much worse I can do. Also, speaking of dehydration, I'll make sure to quench your thirst. Don't you worry. I am a little worried. And Toby says, I'm changing my name to Mexico so you can come in me. Oh my God. All right. This is my nightmare. Guys, say more things to Jen. Let me see. I thought I saw something come through on PayPal. I didn't know if there was a message on it.
If there's one on PayPal, if you send it on PayPal, send it to me in Discord and I can have him read it.
It just says for RTP Media. Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Jay and I get paid as well, so I get a portion for managing his life.
All right. Well, we got 5 minutes left. Is there anything we want to cover? Is there anybody that wants to say anything? Well, do you want to talk? Should we talk? Let's talk about Jeff.
Yeah.
Let me just say this.
I think before we do that, I think Doug wants to come up. I think he got banned. Do you want to let him?
Oh,
I think he wants to get his.
Is he in the?
I
guest
think that's
request?
why he's here.
Oh, I didn't see him. Oh, hey, Doug. Sorry about that. Hey, Dougie.
We can't hear you if you don't know. I think Doug came up since he's not speaking. I think one of his accounts got banned. So if everyone who's here, if you guys could follow this account of Doug's, we'd appreciate it so that he can build that up.
Perfect. He sent me a message. He said, microphone's not working. I got banned. Can people please follow this account? If 7 people follow me, I'll do my entire next live without a shirt. So just 7 people need to follow Doug, and then he's doing his next live shirtless.
Doug, you're so kind, and
That's cool,
you're
Doug.
really for the people.
Thanks, Doug.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go, Doug. You can come back if you want later because we can't hear you. But there you go. Make sure we get 7 people, and I'm looking forward to Doug's shirtless live.
Yeah.
Let me check one more. Okay, so I'll do this. I'll talk about Jeff, and then we'll check donations one more time, and then we'll call it a day. Does that work with you?
Yep, works for me.
All right. I am not close friends with Jeff outside of this app. I like Jeff. We have good conversations. I've been in contact with Jeff over the last couple of days. And Jeff, just in his words to me, he feels, I think he just feels like he lost and he doesn't like feeling like a loser. And I think Jeff is trying to figure out where he's going to go next. That being said, I told Jeff before that I wasn't going to do those debates anymore, but just because I think Jeff and I have different goals for the future. Jeff likes debate. He likes fast-moving debate. He likes spirited debate, and so do I. But I'm trying my best to do things a little bit differently. So no hard feelings there on my end or Jeff. But I will say this. Jeff is new to the left. He's fairly new to politics. He doesn't vote. If people don't like Jeff, don't want to follow Jeff, if they think Jeff is a phony, if they think Jeff was lying to get on our good side, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know with anybody. I will say this: he's been kind to me. He helped us run lives for hours at a time that were draining. We were able to get our message to a lot of people. The message didn't work. I would just say let's try and be compassionate where we can. If you can't be compassionate, you don't have to be. I'm not going to demand it out of anybody. I'm not going to participate probably in the conversations about Jeff, but I do understand why people feel hurt by him. I also understand people who like what he's doing, and ultimately I would just advocate to be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. And if what Jeff's doing bothers you to the point where it's taking up large portions of your life, I would maybe say don't be there. Jen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think other people too. Just so you guys know, like getting debates sometimes on a live, especially. I mean, Jay's got a lot of information, so sometimes it's hard to get opposition. So Jeff wasn't using Jay. What going on there? Jay wanted to debate. He wanted to have conversations, and one thing that Jeff's really good at is drumming up opposition. So it was one of those things. So that's why. I mean, correct me. I don't think you felt used. You wanted to debate, and it was something that you guys agreed to do.
Well, let me say this too. People say he used us for gifts. I don't know. I have no idea what his gifts look like. I rarely pay attention to that. I don't know if he got a lot of gifts. I think that would be a fair thing to ask him if he was getting a lot of gifts. If he was using, I think it's fair to ask. It's fair to feel used. It's fair for all of that. I'll just say Jeff and I never once in the entire time that we discussed doing these lives, not once did we ever talk about money. Not once did we ever talk about the stuff Jeff did, like the hype stuff. I didn't ask him to do that. Frankly, I didn't really love it, but it was his platform. He did it. I just don't like asking for things. But not once did we ever talk about money. So if he did do it for money, he left me out of it. I will say that some of the other creators I've heard complain about him and complain to him and call him a grifter. I've heard from other creators asking me to come on their platform because it would help them make money. So I just want to say that not everybody criticizing him who's a creator is being very fair to Jeff. It would be interesting if...
I gotta, hold on. I gotta interject really fast. People talking about he made 20, that wasn't his voice. The video that's going around that has donuts in the background when someone's speaking, that's not him. That was MAGA Justin doing a voice impression of him. It's not him. That video. Jeff's done some shit. 100%. He's done some sketchy things. The 20K Harvey is wrong. That's Justin.
Yeah.
That wasn't him.
I confronted Justin, and Justin was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about," but it's definitely Justin. And I mean, Justin can say whatever he wants. Like, Justin tried to get me to come to his because of money. I'll throw it out there since Justin's saying it and unwilling to do it. Like, Justin wanted me on his platform so he could make more money. Specifically, that's what he said. Like, we could do this, dude. We'd make a ton of money. But,
and then the other thing too is he had said weeks ago that he had never voted before. Wasn't new to us either. And he lives in Southern California. So, I mean, a lot of people are upset that he didn't vote, but that wasn't new news. He said that before, and he lives in California. That was automatically going to Kamala. I'd like to believe, and I haven't confirmed this with him, that if he was in a state that maybe it would make much of a difference, that he would vote. But that's just my speculation. No one said that. That's my speculation.
But either way, we don't care if you look. I understand people having strong feelings about Jeff, and it doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me think any differently of anybody. If they like him, if they love him, if they hate him, I don't care. We all have our own experience. I just want to clear up my end of it, and I didn't jump into any of those lives because I don't think that it was necessary. And I still wish Jeff nothing but the best. We are friendly friends. I consider Jeff a friend. But we've only really interacted here on TikTok, and I'll continue to be friendly to Jeff. And But yeah, I guess that hopefully that clears it up. Was there anything I need to cover that,
No,
that
I
needs
think
to be
that's it.
cleared up? Okay.
Yeah,
And I
that's it.
appreciate. I would also say this. I had a lot of people reach out specifically and say, "I'm worried for Jeff. Can you just let him know that we care about him?" And I did pass that message on. There were a lot of people who just said, "Hey," because he's getting a lot of shit, and some people don't handle that well. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
I'd
those,
imagine
those
after the
comments as
election.
well.
I mean, he was on the right and the left, so he's probably got. I can't imagine what his DMs look like, knowing what yours do. So
Bree says, "I absolutely have somewhere you can blow your load." Don't forget me on vacation, Poppy. Thank you. Nathan says, "Jen, I accidentally sent my BDSM quiz results to my entire contact list. Do you have time to handle my DMs for a few days?" Nathan, if that's real. In our Discord yesterday, everybody was taking a BDSM quiz. It got out of control. Yes. And sorry, Yolanda, for those. Sorry. It's not my intention, Yolanda. I apologize. And Michael says, "Jeff's been praising Trump now. Don't get twisted." Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really watched much what Jeff was doing, so maybe he has been. Look, Trump deserves credit for winning the election. I think that I don't think we should look at that as necessarily praise. It's just true. He won the election. His messaging worked. He built a coalition full of different people, and that coalition worked out. So I think it's fair to say that that's true. I don't know if that's praising or not. All right. Anything else, Jen? I think that was it on the comments.
yeah, no, just once again, if you haven't subscribed to us over on YouTube, please do that. We've got merch link in the bio, and then if you want to link to the Discord, message any moderator a message, and we can get you an invite.
I may try tonight for anybody that's in the Discord. I may try and go just do a VC in the Discord tonight, just if anybody wants to talk about the Jeff stuff or anything else before I leave. So I'll try and do that a little bit later tonight. I'll keep Jen posted so we can, excuse me, put that in the Discord. And then I'm going to take a microphone with me just in case something big breaks when we're in Mexico. So I will be available if something big comes up, but it would be just from my phone. So.
You have any other messages before you wrap up?
Check. I don't think so. Nope. Got it.
So you come back, do you get back on the...
I get back
so the
on
20th.
the 20th. So
Okay,
the
so you get back on the 20th. So will you be live on the 21st, Thursday?
21st, I'll be live. Is that a Thursday? I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is?
I'm looking at the calendar right now.
Okay, yeah. I guess that Thursday I'll be live. I'll have a show ready to go.
Okay, so I'll put it in the Discord, and are you gonna put a story or something saying your days that you're out, if anyone forgets?
Yeah, if you remind me to, I will.
Okay.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you in a week. This is the longest we've gone. This is the longest I've been apart from all of you since I started this. I don't know how I'm going to handle it. We'll see. I might just break down and cry. We'll see. I will. I mean it when I say, like, I'm happy to go on vacation, but I'm going to miss this.
Well, we're gonna miss your. Are we missing your birthday? Are you going? I have it on my calendar somewhere. I don't remember what date it is. Are you going on your birthday?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jay's we're gonna miss his birthday. So should we like say happy birthday now? Do you want people to sing to you?
No, it's closer to when I get back. It's on the 19th.
Okay.
So you guys
All
can
right.
sing
So
to me
sing to you when we get back.
later.
When you get back.
Yeah.
All right.
Terrific.
Sweet.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for the support. Thanks for the donations. I'll get that over to Jen. She's going to be able to eat while we're gone, it looks like. I appreciate the generosity towards Jen. To the moderators that were here today, thank you. Some of you weren't here, so we'll talk about that later. But appreciate all the moderators. And I look forward to talking to you, those in Discord, a little bit later tonight. And other than that, I'll